Alrighty, welcome to the EV Package special episode 91 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. This has been another absolutely bonkers news week. Starlink has announced portability as a $35 per month option for subscribers in Australia. This allows Starlink terminals to be temporarily taken to any location in Australia that is within Starlink's service area. Although portability enables broadband internet to be received while the dish is in motion, such as on a vehicle, Starlink's FAQ page states that using its terminals while in motion is not currently supported at this time and that doing so voids Starlink's limited warranty. Rundfunk Berlin Brandenburg has reported Tesla as intending to buy 100 hectares of land adjoining their 300-hectare Brandenburg Gigafactory site. The additional land is intended to be used for storage purposes, which will free up their current site for future factory expansion. Reuters has reported as having seen an internal Tesla memo that outlines its intention to return Giga Shanghai's production rate to pre-shutdown levels by the 16th of May. In order to facilitate this, Tesla has plans to add to its currently single shift in order to bring Shanghai's production capacity to 2,600 vehicles per day. Tesla has officially revealed its fully operating swivel center screens for their refreshed Model S and X cars. These are expected to be available for all cars eventually arriving in Australia. Tesla has increased the cost of its full self-driving package in Canada from $10,600 Canadian to $12,800. While a Canadian cost increase was expected due to it now participating in Tesla's FSD beta program, what was unexpected was the fact that the price rise came without warning. This is in spite of Elon Musk promising in October 2020 that any FSD price rises would be preceded with 7 days' notice. With Australia currently lacking a clear beta program rollout timetable, it is unlikely to see the current $10,100 cost of FSD increasing anytime soon. Presuming Australia follows Canada's lead, the cost of FSD would increase to about $12,200, and that increase may be unheralded. Tesla has released its 2021 Impact Report, which outlines impressive progress accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. To that end, the report shows that Tesla's manufactured solar panels have generated 25.39 terawatt hours of energy from 2012 to 2021, edging out the 25.27 terawatt hours of total energy consumed by all its factories and manufactured EVs over the same period. The popularity of Tesla as a desirable company to work for was demonstrated by the 3 million applicants seeking job positions in 2021. Tesla's worldwide supercharger network was powered with 100% renewable energy and had a service reliability of 99.96%. Finally, Tesla showed the inherent safety of its fleet by reporting that a Tesla vehicle fire occurred 8 times for every billion kilometres travelled, compared to 85 per billion kilometres for internal combustion engine cars. Western Australia's state government has introduced $3,500 rebates for the purchase of EVs and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, with a subtotal cost of less than $70,000 including GST. The rebate commenced yesterday and applies to the first 10,000 cars ordered from then. At this stage, the only Tesla qualifying for the grant is its base Model 3 in most trim variations and excluding FSD. Should the Model Y become available in Western Australia before the rebate has ended, it is possible that its cheapest standard unoptioned white version may just sneak under the $70,000 limit. The government stated that the replacement of 10,000 petrol-fueled vehicles with hydrogen or electric vehicles is expected to reduce carbon emissions by at least 7,000 tonnes each year. While that statement hasn't been independently verified at this stage, it is likely it relies on the presumption that any hydrogen cars purchased under this program would be fueled with hydrogen produced from renewable energy rather than fossil fuels. WA government has committed to extending its current EV electric highway project to include 4 locations between Norseman and Eucla. At a total cost of $2.9 million, the new locations are Beladonia, Kaiguna, Madura Pass and Eucla itself. Although not specifically announced, the Energy Minister Bill Johnston released an updated map showing the addition of Northampton, Brookton and Hyden, the deletion of Jerramungup, substitutions including Manjimup replacing Pemberton, Lagrange replacing Eco Beach, Mueller Ranges replacing Mary Pool, and finally, Kings Park has been confirmed as a Highways sole metropolitan site. The Public Transport Authority has been allocated $4 million to trial the installation of 80 AC chargers across 4 train stations in order to provide EV charging services to park and ride commuters. $15 million has been committed by the WA government to subsidise up to 50% of the installation costs of EV charging infrastructure. $10 million will go to not-for-profit organisations and small to medium businesses, while $5 million has been allocated to local governments. The Western Australian Government has resolved to introduce an EV road user charge of 2.5 cents per kilometre commencing 1st of July 2027. There will also be a reduced road user charge of 2 cents per kilometre for plug-in hybrid vehicles. The intended method of revenue collection is not currently known, but the government has allocated $200,000 to develop options for monitoring and collecting the future road user charge. In an online interview with the Financial Times, Elon Musk has warned that Tesla may suspend the taking of orders amidst rampaging demand. Musk stated, "Demand is now exceeding production to a ridiculous degree. We are actually probably going to limit or just stop taking orders for anything beyond a certain period of time, because some of the timing is more than a year away." Given Tesla's delivery timeframe for Model 3 in Australia is 9 to 12 months, it's possible its order page may be downgraded to reservations with indefinite delivery times and unspecified pricing, as is the case with Tesla's Model S, Model X, and the Cybertruck. The Shanghai Observer has reported Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory as exporting its first shipment of 4,767 cars since the start of this quarter. The Glovis Splendor vehicle carrier left port early this morning bound for Slovenia. A customs official was quoted as saying, "Tesla was in a big hurry to load cars freshly off the production lines onto the vessel yesterday afternoon." Tesla has plans to ship a further 4,100 cars on Friday, although their intended destination is currently unknown. And that was this week's news. And there we go. So, wow, we've got a pretty full board, a huge turnout. Welcome, everyone. That was obviously the news. Now, if anyone is new, please feel free, if you're comfortable, to pipe up and say hello. And if you want to do that later, that's totally cool as well. And the crowd roars. Okay. That's cool. You can always say hello. I'll just check the chat. You can always say hello a little bit later. So where do we start? We might as well talk about the elephant in the room. So we've joined the big boys club, and we've got a road user charge. So maybe Pete, you might want to bring some comments to this.
Yeah, not a very big fan, as you know, Harold. Firstly, apologies for no video. So just struggling with my... bear with us. We've got some technical difficulties here.
Well, I can certainly invite you to continue on a little bit later if you like. We can move on to some other stuff first, if you want to gather your thoughts and whatever.
Sounds good.
Shane's just asked, how does Victoria implement it? And it's basically a user reports their mileage and submits a picture of their odometer, and then gets a bill and pays the money.
So Nigel, a good question that I can't remember who was one of the committee members raised was, what happens if you travel to South Australia? Do you then take another?
No, you pay for your total usage. If your car is registered in Victoria and you drive to Queensland and spend 6 months there and come back, you will pay 2.5 cents per kilometre travel, full stop.
And if I take my car to New Zealand or Indonesia or somewhere else and come back 3 years later, I've still got to pay a 2.5 cent kilometre road user charge? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
You won't have your car registered here.
Yeah, you'd probably deregister your car, or for the purpose, you declare it as being exported and no longer functioning or licensed or transferred out of the country.
Yeah.
Does that mean, does that mean you've got to record your odometer at the start of that period, 1st of July, I suppose?
Yes, they will expect you to at least take a photograph and send it to them. That's what happened in Victoria. You take a picture of your odometer reading, and quite a few people took a picture and edited it and put a few comments on the picture. Let's put it like that. They weren't very happy with it.
No.
Such an archaic way of doing something for such a high-tech system. It's bizarre.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I imagine
don't
they
even-
would be doing it through the, by taxing charging.
You can't do
Well,
that because people
Let's
charge at
think.
home and that's free. So you can't,
Yeah.
unless you can control which electrons go where, which you pretty much can't. It's just not practical to do that. That's the nexus, is you can't really tax the input to the EV. All you can do is tax the distance it's travelled. Another system which is probably a bit more arcane than even the Victorian one is what New Zealand does for diesel vehicles. And that is that you go to, I think they're newsagents and several other types of outlets, and you basically buy a stamp which has a number of kilometres on it. So you buy like a 10,000 kilometre stamp and you stick that on your car, and then if the cops pull you over, they'll look at your odometer, and if your odometer is higher than the stamp that you have, then that's an offence. And they buy stamps. I can't remember the exact cost. It's like perhaps it's a $14 charge for the stamp itself, plus the number of kilometres you want to buy. So you get a discount if you buy 10,000 kilometre slabs instead of 1,000 kilometre slabs. But that's how New Zealand does it. They've had zero excise on diesel ever.
Right.
And the way they get ordinary cars to pay for road usage is by this road usage charge with stamps. And as we all know, you can use technology. So it would be trivial for Tesla to report to the government on a quarterly or annual basis completely accurate odometer readings, to the point where if you're on a dirt road that's a private road, it could exclude that for that matter if they really wanted to. But you can't expect Mini and MG and the cheaper EVs to have this technology, or existing EVs. So they're going to have to work out something. Like I said in the news, there's $200,000 being spent on a study.
And another point, what about guys like Damo, who's out on the track? So he's using a private track and he's got to pay for the kilometres,
Yes.
at the track. So
When,
I
when's this
actually-
date? 2027.
Yeah, 1st of July 27.
Yes.
If
Alex will be retired by then.
if I shut up, Jared. I spoke to Reece Whitby last Friday, and I actually asked him this question. He didn't deny it or say yes or no, because it was going to be announced this week and he knew about it. And I said, look, I mean, if we go the same way Victoria do, and he goes, look, I agree it's a disincentive, but, and then I thought, oh, okay, they might be introducing it. The fuel exercise goes to the federal government, he said, and we get a portion of that fuel excise for our roads. And I said, well, no, you don't. Fuel excise goes into general revenue, and then that money is spread around and you use it for roads or whatever. It's not specifically that.
exactly.
So,
And
it's, no, we get some money for the roads. I said, yeah, but it doesn't come from the excise. It comes from general revenue, and you use it. So he did agree that a tax like that is a disincentive, but we will need eventually to recoup that fuel excise money.
Well,
But why don't they just, as opposed to doing all this bullshit, get rid of the fuel excise, and then everyone on their rego just add the $500, because that $200 that they said was bullshit, because it was already, we would be paying over $500, $600 a year anyway. And then that way there's not EV, not, it's
it would be
everyone
much
pays the
simpler.
same.
It would be
But-
much simpler, Paul, but what we're not getting, and this is what what they're pulling over our eyes is we shouldn't be paying taxes at all. It should be the other way around. We should be
Oh
getting
yeah.
for every kilometre that we drive on the roads. And the reason why we should be getting paid rather than us paying a road user charge is if you were to make the playing field level, if you look at the $28 billion US so the International Monetary Fund did a study of fossil fuel subsidies at different countries. It was about 5.2 trillion globally. Australia's share was 28 billion US, which is, call it about 37 million Australian. There's about 26 million people that live in Australia. There's about 13.5 million of those people that pay taxes. If you divide the 37 billion by the 13.5, that equates to $2,790 odd per taxpayer per year. So, let's say an average car is held for 10 years. That's $28,000 in subsidies that they should give us up front when buying a car, just to be on the same level playing field with fossil fuels. If the cars, if the average person only keeps a car for 5 years, it should be $14,000. So we shouldn't be paying $300 a year. We should be getting $2,800 a year back just to have it a level playing field. Now, of course, that's very, this is all very convoluted. The easiest way to do this is just to stop having externalities that aren't priced in. So, you can't go and throw your rubbish out onto the street. That's illegal. You have to pay the council to come and collect your rubbish. So why is it that big fossil fuel companies can throw their rubbish into the atmosphere and that's legal? So that should be made illegal. If you want to do that, you have to buy certificates from someone that's bought an EV or someone that's installed a solar system. We actually have that system already in place. John Howard brought it in over 10 years ago in the solar industry. And, when you get these incentives for putting solar in, that's all it is. You work out how much carbon you're offsetting out of the atmosphere, and then you get paid a price up to $40 per megawatt hour. So that system's already in place. It wouldn't require any further monitoring, etc. Anyway.
And a point about your roads, your local roads are actually paid by the council. That actually comes out of your rates as well. So the vast majority of the roads are actually done by the council, not the state government. They're not actually. It's only main roads are the ones that they're getting this fuel excise for, which is bullshit because they don't actually use that much.
No.
So it gets my goat because we paid thousands of dollars in tax and everything for our cars for nothing. And these guys are blaming us, but they're wanting to do it now because there's only like 2,000 of us, as opposed to the general public, which are it's the poor people that, I'll be able to afford it, but the people that can't afford it are the ones that are going to be stuck with the shitty cars, or they're going to have to pay this extra stuff that they won't be able to afford because it's more than what they currently pay. It's ridiculous. Sorry,
interesting.
I'm just pissed.
A current court case going on in Victoria. My mate Chris van der Stok and somebody else is taking the Victorian government to court over their road user charges.
Good.
And, they're doing it on the constitutional basis or something. And he's been raising money through Chuffed, I think, to help get the costs covered, because it's not cheap.
No.
And every other state and territory in the country has supported the Victorian government in this endeavour. Same way that, when Clive Palmer decided to sue WA, the federal government went in and put in a letter of support, and other places did. So that's what's happened. WA supported the Victorian government against Chris and his legal thing.
Well, as Paul Keating famously said, never get in between a state premier and a bag of money. So, and I think that court case is on shaky grounds because they're basically trying to argue that the Constitution doesn't allow states to impose taxes, but it does. So, but good on him for giving it a red hot go. Paul, you said a moment ago there's an issue about affordability. One thing I did say inaccurately in the news is I mentioned that the rebate applied to cars that were ordered from yesterday. It's actually cars that were purchased. So because ordering in Tesla land means a different thing to in Iceland, basically if Tesla was delivering cars tomorrow that were ordered last year, those cars would qualify for the rebate. So it will be the first 10,000 cars that are delivered, not ordered, because if you order a car now, it might be 12 months down the track that you get it, if that. But yeah, so that was a little mistake. That it is, if you buy a car, if you go to a dealer or whichever means, and you collect an EV. Oh, another thing too is, one thing I did neglect to make a point in the news was, yes, the state government have announced this package for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles under $70,000. Well, there's not one in the entire world that costs less than $70,000.
Yeah.
So there will be zero hydrogen cars that'll get this rebate out of the first 10,000 that are on offer.
Yeah, well,
We need to ask.
It's not going to last very long. And
No, we need Tesla
at least at the luxury car tax limit, which is about 79,000, surely. Because there's only a few cars under that limit now.
I paid the rego the other day for a year, $941.10
Yeah.
For what?
for a Tesla.
No, but I was just
But
saying.
the privilege,
for
just
what?
for 12 months. 12
Yeah,
months.
no, it's
privilege of
ridiculous.
owning it.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I don't know. That's the license, but I bought the license plate.
And Jared, that's another example of where EVs are being taxed more than an ICE car, because Harold, you would know, actually, Rob, you would know as well, that charge is based on the TAM mass of the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle, isn't it?
In WA, it's based on the weight, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, EVs are generally heavier than ICE cars. So there's another example of us paying additional tax. Not to even get started on the luxury car tax, but anyway.
Yep. So very quickly, there was mention made about how many cars are being rebated. And it's, in our case, it's 10,000. So in New South Wales, it's the first 25,000 that get $3,000 with a subtotal up to 68,750. That's safely in a standard range Model 3. Queensland don't have a rebate. South Australia, $3,000 rebate for the first 7,000 cars, and a similar subtotal. And Victoria, 4,000 registrations.
Yes.
So actually, by many metrics, our rebate is the most generous, except for New South Wales, which have 25,000.
With a much bigger population.
Oh yeah, indeed. Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Yeah, dead right. So I guess per capita, we're doing very well.
The interesting thing is, in South Australia, it was for 7,000 vehicles, and that came in on the 28th of October last year. And as of the 1st of May, they've still got 6,500 rebates to go. Wow. They haven't used very many of them.
I was going to say
There's a lot of
over
box
here.
workers in Adelaide.
Yeah, well, it's probably because they've set it at 68,000, and everybody's buying their performance Model 3s and don't get the rebate.
They're all sitting on the lounge with marshmallows, waiting to chill out till they can go and get the rebate. So it'll be a while.
I mean, it's only the MGZ SEV and a few other odd spurious cars.
The BYDs will come in under.
Oh, the BYDs rake it in. They're under 50 grand, about 45, up to 48.
So the
40?
70,000, does that include all costs, or is it just the starting price before tax?
70,000 is
GST inclusive, I think, isn't it?
GST inclusive subtotal. So what I did was actually checked on Tesla's website,
Yeah, because
And-
it's just over.
When you so for instance, if we look at this Model 3 has a 70,876
Yeah.
driveway price, but when you go
Yeah.
to calculate financing, the subtotal is actually 65,625,
Oh, okay.
and that includes 1,375 of delivery fee and the order fee.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
so,
So it's not including the stamp duty then.
no, so those two
The
figures,
70 grand.
no, so those two, no, the stamp duty is like calculated afterwards,
Beautiful.
right? So
Nice.
the point there is you just got to add 1,375 and 350 to these prices. Now, of course, neither the long range nor the performance qualify at all.
Yeah, that's all right.
Now the Model Y, there's a slim chance that the most basic poverty pearl white, standard wheels, standard interior, standard everything, standard range might just sneak under, provided our dollar doesn't tank and well, whatever that is, that, you know, what Model Y's come out.
See,
It might just sneak in.
Thank you.
This highlights the lunacy of having this arbitrary figure of $70,000. Where did $70,000 come from? It's just because the other states are at 68,750. So, you know, we just copycat. You know, no one's actually looked at this. You know, there is a potential that it could carve out what will inevitably be Australia's most popular EV, and you know, and the world's most popular EV being the Model Y. But it just doesn't make sense if you're trying to avoid giving subsidies or rebates to millionaires. Why don't you means test it? You know, Labor's proposing this $90,000 per person, $120,000 per couple as a means test to be eligible for their equity share with the government to purchase a new house. So why don't you do something like that? I still think 90,000 is way too low. Should probably be double or triple that, because someone earning $90,000 isn't going to be a millionaire or a billionaire. But you know, why choose this? Why disrupt the market? I mean, you've got a free market, and now you're you know, picking winners, and you're disrupting the operations of a free market.
Actually, Pete, they're picking losers, aren't they? Because that's why there's 6,500 of those rebates still available. Nobody wants to buy the cheap ones.
Exactly. And so you're basically incentivizing the manufacturers that make EVs that no one wants to buy, with no range, with poor quality, that, you know, that look like, you know, what have you. So yeah, exactly. It's just a silly way to do it. You know, means testing it would have been a much better way to do it.
Now,
So,
the
now
EV
let's-
rate itself, Harold, it's 2.5 cents per kilometre.
Yes.
Now, that's in 2022 dollars, isn't it? Is it CPI adjusted?
It's
Yes.
indexed.
It's indexed as of yesterday. So
When it comes in 2027, who the hell knows what it's going to be?
yeah,
5
it's
cents.
5 cents or whatever the CPI is.
Yes.
And actually, with a bit of the inflation we're getting at the moment, it could easily be, who knows?
3.5 cents, 4 cents.
3.5 cents, 4 cents, yeah.
Yeah.
3 point a fraction or something like that.
Mm.
Hey, we've got Charles, who's coming to us from the future in Tassie, and he's sitting back going, "Oh, gee, I hope our government doesn't put in a road user charge." But actually, you guys are doing pretty well. What he did do, because this is what he always does, is he tweeted out a great comparison between the two rollout maps. And that was part of my news thing as well, where basically we had the Mary Pool substituted with Mueller Ranges, and Eco Beach is now substituted with Lagrange. Now, interestingly, I don't know if I can zoom in on this. Oh, that's not going to do it. But there were some charges in the Perth metro area. They have now been substituted for a single charger in Kings Park. Now, we all know we don't need a charger in Kings Park because everyone in Perth lives at home and charges their car at home.
But Harold,
Yes.
what happens if you're having a late night and you're trying to off your wife and you need to charge up before you bury a body up there? What do you do then?
I'm going to preface all of what you just said there, Jared, with allegedly and found not guilty, and also extracted a rather substantial, hefty compensation package. But moving straight back to Kings Park, so
Yeah.
the main reason is the highway was always declared as having an average of 200 kilometre gaps between charges. So obviously, it's not a great look if you've got a more than 200 kilometre gap between Lancelin and say Bunbury. So clearly there had to be a single charger, and I think quite wisely Synergy have gone, by the look of this map, to a single one in Kings Park, and Kings Park's a great location. Moving right along, now this is something that ought not to be lost on many people, but the addition of the Brookton and Hyden charges is a wonderful development that wasn't announced per se as separate money. So these monies presumably have come as part of the original package, and the fact that that was able to be achieved is a great achievement.
Yeah,
now-
well, that's great, but Jerramungup's gone, and Katanning can only charge at, what is it, 25 or 30?
Okay, so getting on to Jerramungup, which we can see Charles had circled Jerramungup as being a deletion. I think, I don't know this, it might be an error, because the stated aim of this charging network was the average distance between towns or charging locations be 200 kilometres, or average 200 kilometres, and the distance between Albany and Ravensthorpe is 305. So it's not impossible that might be an omission, an error. Although I guess you could arguably say that if you go from Brookton to Hyden to Ravensthorpe to Esperance, that's within the 200 kilometres, and it's your choice. Well, anyway.
There's a whole bunch of routes through there. If you wanted to stick one in that to meet your 200 kilometre distances, you'd stick it at Boxwood Hill, and at Boxwood Hill there's a kangaroo and an emu and a footy oval, and that's about it.
Yep.
But that gets you your 200 k's each way.
Right.
Jerramungup's probably your next best option, but you can buy a coffee there at least.
Yes. Yeah. So and then moving on to the next, the truly significant, which thank God they realised this was an omission, was the $2.9 million of funding to have a charger at Balladonia, Kaiguna, Majura Pass, and Eucla. And that, we all knew when they announced this, it's like, yeah, but what about going to South Australia? And, it was a glaring omission, and thankfully, the government has seen it for that, and they've put in 2.9 million to do those 4 charges. And I think we need to thank John Edwards for scratching that itch, because he basically said, well, blow the rest of you, I'm going to just do it myself. I'm going to will something out of my own mechanical engineering skills and develop a biodiesel, or a used chip oil charging system, and crowdfund it and deploy it. And he did it. And the great thing is, because he's built it, now the government is going to come and augment it. And that's a wonderful achievement that can't be understated, or can't be overstated. Sorry, it's and I'm not sure if John, if you're still there, it's a wonderful, wonderful achievement, and full kudos to you for just willing it out of sheer effort. And like I said, that is the most significant part of this whole announcement.
We should name a charger after him.
Yeah.
We should,
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe the one in Kings Park or something in a good position.
The John Edwards Kings Park Memorial charging location.
Oh, not memorial, not memorial. No.
He's still going. John Edwards is still
I
going.
think he's got a couple of years left, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I
Good work,
think
John.
we might be able to get some, a GoFundMe page to get him some lighting, because he hasn't got any lighting going in his house.
It's got flattering. It's more flattering to his appearance.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be the John Edwards Drive from Norseman on. I think that'd be brilliant. Across the Nullarbor, I think that would be a fabulous recognition of what John's done, and it's fantastic, I reckon.
Definitely naming a charger after him, I think it's good.
Just
I like that idea of the John Edwards Norseman Drive. I like that idea because that's where it needs to be, not in Kings Park. John's not interested in Kings Park, so
Oh,
it's
one of the
John,
most
speak.
important
Go,
areas.
go, John, go.
just a couple of comments. I'm very pleased with that announcement, and obviously it's going to be awesome. And clearly there's enough money in that. And the Norseman and Euclid came out of the Premier's mouth, so obviously they've been looking at what we've been doing. But if you look at the history, we put one of these charges down at Arthur River, a couple of 3 years ago. There was nothing out there. There was nothing between Perth and Albany in those days. And, people started using it. Model 3s came onto the scene and these guys were zooming down to Albany and using it. And the next minute, Synergy put that one at Coconut. Great, like 30 k's down the road. So Arthur River wasn't needed anymore. So take it away and put it somewhere else, put in Geraldton. In Jurien Bay. And all of a sudden, everyone starts using it, right? And starts driving up there. And then, of course, the one went in at Geraldton. And I think it just proves that if you put the charges there, people start using it and you get the utilisation. You look at Coburn, even though it's been broken down to 6 weeks, it's not a good thing. But when that went in, that charger, when it was working, it's one of the top 10 utilised chargers in the whole of the ChargeFox network in Australia. So that's fairly telling. Really these, and I think this is the reason why they've come up with this. We've got to do the Nullarbor, because as soon as we put the chargers in there, lots and lots of people are going to start using it. So I reckon that's the best part of that announcement, is that 2.9 million.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely. And like I said, John, a lot of it has got to do with your hard work and, dedication to the cause for years, for literally years.
Cheers.
I was going to say something, but I missed it. Okay, so there are other aspects. Obviously, what's good to see is the $15 million going 10 for small to medium enterprises and not-for-profits to do additional charging infrastructure. That's a great initiative. And also the $5 million to local councils. That'll also be useful as well, probably mainly slow charging. And has anyone got any comments about the park and ride? To me, it strikes me as, if you had $4 million, I'd rather you just spend it on more DC chargers in the regions, because I don't know that many people using park and ride. The biggest issue is you're going to park your car all day and your car's going to have charged itself up.
Yeah,
I
think Reece Whitby asked me, he said, what do you think about train stations? And I said, there's no point, because, you can only put in destination charges there. And your car could be charged in 2 hours, but you'll be gone 10, unless it suits someone like me who goes to Perth after 9 because it's a lot cheaper, and then comes back before 3. Because
free, Nigel, it's free.
Yeah, I know it's free. I didn't want to rub that in. So I spend a few hours away. That's nice. I can get a bit of a top up, but for workers. And I also said that, if you put in a few, I can tell you what will happen. By 7 o'clock in the morning, ICE cars will be parked in there, because there's such short places. There's huge number of car parking spots.
And not just that, Nigel, but you're starting to condition people into having that state of mind that, it's an EV parking spot. We don't have any EV parking spots. We've got EV charging spots.
And that's actually something that I did say to the minister. You need to have these as EV charging spots and penalise people who are parked in there, whether it's ICE or EVs, who are not charging. And he goes, that's interesting. We need some sort of standardised signage. Let's look into that. And he said that to his assistant, who was busy typing on his laptop. He said, that's a good idea. Standardized signage, and just for charging EVs.
Yeah.
And there actually are standard signs, road signs that main roads have approved for denoting charging locations, which I'll find shortly.
Yeah, but a lot of places are just going, it's EV parking or EVs only or whatever, not EV charging only.
Yeah, when I worked for Town of Cambridge, I'd put those signs up. So I don't know if they're still up at Floreat way back when. So yeah.
The signs are these. Oh, sorry. Is that? Can you see that?
No,
Now you can. So that's one of the signs. Then these are nationally approved.
Yep.
Then this is another one, and you've got another one there.
Yep.
Just whatever, and then the last one is that one, and then I think I've also got. Sorry, I've got EV road signs. Which is this one, and they go like this. Oh, sorry, I'll just go and find it. One of them, one of them is this, that's a main roads approved sign.
Oh yeah.
And then the other one, I'll just try and find where they're approved to be put onto main road signs and underneath.
Oh yeah.
A little bit like these ones, but they have got them for EVs. I just got to find where the actual electric bit is.
It's beside the sign that says "Beware of the sharp edges."
Yes, indeed. That's a killer too. That really is. Electric vehicle charging.
Yeah, go Pete. Always.
One good thing in this that wasn't in this announcement was what some of the other states have done, where you have to put a EV triangle on your number plate, a bit like you had to do with gas cars. You had to put in LPG on your number plate. It's just so silly because within a few years, when every car is an EV, you'll have to reverse that. You'll have to put ice on your number plates.
Mm-hmm. Show drops of brown oil or something dripping down.
It'll be on the road.
It'll be on the road.
It'll be on the road. I like that.
No, you just need a little pile of poo because they're shit cars.
No, Australia, in fairness,
They look like this. They're little EV triangles.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they do the same in England, don't they? You have to have a certain green band or something next to the number plate.
Yeah, that's only so that they can then drive in certain areas, such as in the centre of London, without getting a big amount of money.
Oh, sorry. I thought. Oh, there we go. That's what it looks. That's what it looks like. And in this case, it's been riveted on. Yeah, just like the LPG sign.
You'd think
That's silly.
they'd make it green rather than blue, but anyway, you'd think they reserve the blue ones for hydrogen, but we all know that will never happen. So.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You've got to have EV signs in some states. Do they have to have hydrogen signs? Because that's a damn sight more bloody dangerous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a yellow pentagon for hydrogen, I think. It's a yellow pentagon for hydrogen.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think you're right, Charles. Speaking of, why don't petrol cars have signs? Because if we just look at this little video, that's a petrol tanker right there.
Jesus.
And this is not the best bit. So that's the initial fire. And then this is in Italy a few years ago. I think it was 2018. And we'll just let this develop a little bit more. And then eventually you'll see the next scene is when the fire has progressed a little bit.
One's going
We'll just
Oh,
let it
get
go
the fuck out of here.
a little
Oh,
bit
if I
more.
was that truck driver, I'd be like, let's fucking back that thing up quick.
Okay, this is the bit to look out for. This is after the fire has sort of well and truly been burning for quite a while. You can see most of the cars are cleared off the freeway, and just watch what happens next.
Hey, far out.
The thing is, that burns people anywhere around it, they're dead.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Tesla?
That's called a BLEVE. That's a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion.
One went off in Spain and people were on the beach or in the water. Anything above the water was burnt to a frazzle. And that was 50 to 100 feet away at least, because the road was beside the beach. It just burnt them to a cinder, even though they're in the water.
I'll tell you what, you wouldn't get explosions like that even in Ukraine at the moment.
No.
Well, now
Jeez.
you mention it, Pete, that is a form of munitions where they do use gaseous fuel for a particular bomb.
Don't they actually get, it's a whole, like I say, a 44
Yeah,
gallon
fuel
drum
bomb.
or bigger of fuel. They have a first explosion which disperses it to a mist.
And
Then
vaporizes
a
it, yes,
secondary,
yes,
vaporize it, secondary one sets it off.
yes.
I love the Yanks.
So why don't petrol cars have warning flammable liquid
shit.
sign?
They should, technically, they should do. Because, you know, when
I
people
don't think these.
carry a
I
jerry
don't think
can,
these
it's supposed to
triangles
have that.
are. They're not to say that electric cars are dangerous. They're just to say they need different kinds of fire extinguishers for, you know, and things like that. So it's not to say they're more dangerous or anything like that. Just that they're less common, which is why hybrids had them as well, because they have lithium-ion batteries and high voltage cabling. So unfortunately, most of the blue triangle cars you see are actually hybrids, but used to, you know, otherwise they'd be handy for EV spotting, but no, you just see heaps of you know, RAV4s and Camrys and things.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, and all jokes aside, I mean, that's a very sage point. It is principally just to instruct first responders that this car is different and it's just not the same. So, you know, and hopefully it'll get to the point where you will have petrol stickers because they will be in the minority, and the presumption will be that all the new cars that are smashed up are EVs. And
that's an advantage. An advantage of the Teslas is that there are no petrol versions, so they don't need to think too hard about whether it's EV or not.
Well, although, John, I mean, you've got first-hand experience with the green theme, where Targa are particularly concerned about the green theme.
Yeah, we have to get some approvals, or have to have some procedures in place to get Motorsport Australia's approval for these events. So we have to have certain stickers on the car where the isolation points are. The organisers have to have the big rubber gloves and the big rubber hook, so they can hoik somebody out without getting, you know, electrocuted by the car. In recent events, we have to run last in the lineup, so that if there's an accident, they don't want other cars stopping and crowding around. So basically, the sweet car is the car that'll get to us. And yeah, they're pretty strict about it. Like, we're not allowed to race at Wanneroo because Wanneroo haven't got their EV procedures in place. We're not allowed to race at Collie, but we can still do the Targa West events. So yeah, there is a bit of a procedure to get things in order to race the car.
Has there ever been an instance when someone's got electrocuted after a crash in an EV?
Oh no,
I
don't think so.
Don't know of any, Pete. That would be an interesting Google to do. I personally doubt it.
I don't
Maybe-
think
maybe-
even my
maybe off a-
converted car, if you had a crash, it would isolate itself. You know, there was like a switch, like a dead man switch, if you call it, that isolated the main traction battery, so you couldn't get electrocuted. And that was a
Tesla-
basic car.
Yeah,
Just
maybe
sounds
off a toaster in catering.
All
Someone could have
Teslas
electrocuted the
have got
toaster.
that dead man switch that blows when it
Pyro
detects
fuse,
an
yep.
accident.
Yep.
Yep. It literally blows itself up, or it blows open a physical fuse upon airbag deployment, which kills your car and the battery pack. I mean, from providing any power out of it.
And let's not forget that, EVs aren't just confined to road transport. We're having, there's electric boats out there, there's electric surfboards, etc. So, the batteries are made to be sealed and perform in marine environments as well. And then we've got drones that fly around, they're all electric, I can't even think of instance when someone got electric.
Power tools, Pete. Power tools.
Yeah.
Power tools that have
Cordless.
been used every day of the week on a lot of job sites all over the world. They've been using
Harold?
electric.
Harold,
Most of our stuff
Yes, Nigel.
electric.
could you just mute Eric? He's coming up with crackling and noises and his yellow thing saying he's making noises. There we go. He's done it himself.
Oh, I did it for him.
And Jared,
Thank you, Eric.
how many people have been electrocuted with wired power tools versus, instances of people being electrocuted with, battery powered power tools?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how many people have been electrocuted when they walk out of Bunnings with 6 mil cable and a couple of switches and they're going home to their house to rewire their house? I mean, how many times do you reckon that's been called out? Yeah.
It's funny
pretty
that you can
interesting.
even actually do that. That you're
Yeah.
not allowed to. You're not allowed to install it, but you're allowed to buy all the equipment.
Yeah, correct.
It's
Without
a
a
bit like when I was
license.
in P&G a long time ago. You were allowed to have a pack of cards on the table, but as soon as you picked them up, it was gambling, and that was illegal.
It's like you're allowed to buy a radar detector, and in WA up until about a year ago or so, you're allowed to have one. But were you allowed to use it? I thought you were allowed to have it, but it was illegal to be caught using it. I think that was
Or installed in your car. A lot of people installing them under the bonnet and stuff, and then they'd get a fine if they get caught.
In New South Wales, they could detect the detector,
Yeah.
and that's when you got fined.
Yeah.
Yeah, now everyone uses Waze. So, you know where the cameras are.
I heard a trick where you keep a stamped envelope to yourself, like a big yellow envelope, in the car. If you get pulled over, you put the detector in that and seal it, and they can't open it because it's mail and that's tampering with mail. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but that's,
I think they've got due cause. I think they've
Someone's
got
probably
due cause because if you had a bag of cocaine, and you were driving along and you just whack that in an envelope, they might go, well, due cause, we think you've got cocaine in there.
It doesn't stop Australia Post doing it, so they'll bring Australia Post in, like you see on the TV shows.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's true. That's dead right. The post is a special thing. I mean, that's how they got.
Work for me, Jared.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a possibility that might be the case, though, Charles, in America, because it's a whole different ballgame. If you rob a post office, it's a federal offence, but it's some different category. It's classed a lot higher than robbing a convenience store.
Yeah, they go postal.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom.
There's just a quick comment that Charles made, quite a sage one, with regards to charging at the train stations. His suggestion was to make it really slow, like maybe 3.6 kilowatts. So that would be basically 16 amps, single phase.
Yeah, but they're going to be sitting on it all day anyway. It's a stupid place to put it, a train station. What a dumb place to put it.
Yeah, I mean,
Guy's going to roll up at 8 o'clock, park his car, then come back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, who's going to go at night to a train station to charge their car? Who would feel safe driving to a train station at night, parking their car? I'd rather go downtown Beirut before I went to the Armidale train station. I'm just going to go charge the car, darling. Oh, guess what? While I was sitting there for 2 hours, the tyres were gone. I'm sitting on blocks of concrete. Yeah, great idea.
Jared,
train station.
Jared, you actually raised a really good point, which is, we all know the problems with vandalism when it comes to chargers, and there is no place where they're more likely to get vandalised than at a train station.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and it's going to train some of the youngsters. It's they'll see the charges at the train station, they'll vandalise them there, and then when they see them somewhere else, or they'll start looking out for them, they'll have a go at them in other locations. So
Train station, very silly place to do it. Very silly.
I have another idea. Why don't they just put a 240-volt power point there in the parking space?
Because somebody will stick something in there and just damage it.
There, someone will come along and switch
There's
it
some
off.
sort of liability having an open outlet like that in a
Yeah.
And the other thing too
you're
is
right,
you
Jared.
need to charge for it. You need to have a payment system, and you can't do that for PowerPoint. So
I mean, you just got to look at the way of the world. The world is looking for people are looking for answers to blame someone else when something else goes wrong. Just like on the news tonight with that kid's gone into a building site and fallen down and got hit by a. That's very sad that he's passed away. But they're now trying to blame the owner of the building site. Well, it's very sad that everyone's trying to look at a different avenue to blame someone else. We need to look at what society's letting people play in building sites. We're not.
well, the thing is, you can't have this energy being given for free because that's just not sustainable.
Correct.
So it's going to have to be an
Which falls into the
EVSE.
same boat as our road user charge, Harold. Like, it's just not sustainable to not have one.
Yes.
Ideally, it's what is it now, 2022? Ideally, by 2025, all the ICE cars will be off the road and we'll all be driving EVs. Now that's not realistic, but let's say we manage to pull it off somehow. It's not sustainable for us to not pay a road user charge, or at least pay for the road somehow. So
Shane, but like I said, you could mount the same argument and say it's not sustainable to be subsidising fossil fuels to the tune of $37 billion every year.
100% agree. There's no question. You can't. We shouldn't be doing that either.
No.
Well, I also think there should be acknowledgement of the health benefits by the lack of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxides being emitted by our cars. We are actually saving the health budget, which state revenue. So it is more sustainable, you could argue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's, I think the whole problem is, until you measure the externalities, you just don't know where you are. And I think if most people realised how damaging fossil fuel vehicles are to the whole environment, including the people that drive them, I think they'd be shocked. I think we'd all be shocked just how much damage is done and how much it costs.
Speaking of shocking, the most shocking statistic is that few people realise that most people die prematurely from air pollution than the road toll. So
actually 8 million people a year.
I mean, that's
8 million people a year. That's what 7,990,000 in China alone.
Or New Delhi, because it's pretty smoggy there too.
Yeah, China's exporting it to New Delhi now.
And by the way, that statistic where I said more people die prematurely from air pollution, that's a Australian statistic as well. So that's not China. That's in Australia. More people die prematurely from air pollution than from being killed on the road in car accidents. But we just obviously don't realise that, because every time there's a car accident, we see it on the news if someone dies. But you don't see it on the news when someone dies prematurely from lung complications or what have you. And that's just the people that are alive already. There's, with the carbon monoxide, etc., there's huge effects for unborn babies from air pollution as well. So,
and that's only the people who die, of course. You still have those diseases and ailments leading up to death.
Yes, and the lost hours worked and lost life enjoyed, or quality of life as well.
Yes.
Just having a quick little segue away, we have got one single ticket available for the Tokwa Tokiva Track Day. So if you do want this it's basically between 10 and 12, although anyone that has a booking, I'll be sending out an email explaining that you need to get there at 9 for a pre-drive briefing with Jürgen. But yeah, you can see the link there on the page there. So
And apparently they're making all the drivers do a 5K run. Is that right?
yes, before and
Before
after
they drive-
as a
yeah, before and
baseline.
after,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
And an
Yep.
obstacle course as well for Green Goat
You
obstacle.
gonna be there, Jared? You gonna be there, Jared?
Yeah. Oh hell yeah, I'm there. I'm there definitely. I'm
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
I'll be,
so
I'll
if
be
you're
watching everyone on that run. I'll just be
So
support.
if you're considering it, look at the screen there. It's $150 for the driver. Any spectators are free, obviously. But there's one ticket left, and that will be snapped
Can
up.
I bring my trailer, Harold?
Not in the race. Not in the race.
Not on the back.
Not on the
That's
racetrack, no.
cheating. That's you'll have
Not
an
on the
extra
racetrack.
Yeah.
Not on
And
the
you
racetrack.
won't get through the water barriers
range,
with that
you see,
either.
so I'm going to lose. I'm flat out going to lose. There's no question there. But if
Oh,
I've
it's
got
not a
trailer
race.
on, at least
It's not a
you
race.
can-
So
It's not a race.
Yeah, not if you've got a trailer
Sorry,
on the
go
back, Shane.
it's not a race. It's
Sorry, Harold.
for lack of a better term, it's just a safe fang around the track. It's 4 cars only per session. So there are 4 cars, and you obviously space yourselves out, and then you just basically learn about driving safely on the track in a safe environment. So if you have an off, there's not a lot to hit, and it's pretty safe. And also you've got the knowledge and experience of Jürgen, who will be explaining some of the finer points of driving a car safely around the track.
Harold, you're taking them on legs?
Not on the track.
Look, if the ticket
was gonna let
doesn't
me
get
have a spin,
sold,
weren't you,
I'll
Harold?
buy it. But I've done it once, and look, it's awesome fun. But to be honest, my tyres have got about another 30,000 Ks left on them, and I just don't want to chew them up. If I was about to buy new tyres, yeah, I'd absolutely be doing it every week.
Got to join Costco though.
It's such a lot of fun. But yeah,
It's not far from Costco.
Are you going to be there, Paul?
Yeah, I'm coming. Just a spectator and help out sort of stuff. But I recommend it. I've done it a few times. It's good fun.
Yeah, we did it last time, and remember they restricted our speed, Paul.
that was different. That was for demonstration purposes. That was when you were having a
Oh.
passenger. But
Yeah,
because
right.
it's yourself,
But-
there's no speed
Yeah.
restriction
Yeah,
from
right.
memory.
Except they do put the water barriers on the straight.
Yeah,
So
right.
you
Yes,
can't get
to
up to
slow you down.
180 anymore. So, which is a shame.
But it is great fun, and I highly recommend it. Anyone that
sorry,
wants
go
to do
for
it, please do join in. And look, if a ticket's still vacant, I'll take it up, no problem. But I'd much rather actually someone else new enjoy the experience, because it's a great experience.
Harold, should we mention the other event, or did you?
Yes, so I have done most of my homework.
Alex,
and
will you
the
be
other-
there on Saturday?
Sadly,
other
I've got COVID again.
Oh, you haven't got COVID
Oh.
again, have you?
Turn mute your microphone. We don't want
That's
to catch
twice
it.
you've had COVID. I told
Yeah,
you to get that can of Glen 20. You stupid. What are you doing, Alex?
Youth theatre types all getting a little bit
Yeah.
lovey-dovey to, you know.
Is that
The whole
twice you've had it
cast
now?
got it on the last day. I was on the last day.
Is that the last day? What happened? You kissed her and you got it.
No, no. We don't want to talk
Absolutely.
about
No, let's not talk about. We'll talk about that when we go on pause for our special session.
Can't believe you
now,
got it.
Pete,
again.
you're right. This is a preview, which will be an email that's going out tomorrow, and I mean that literally, because I did send out the reminder for the track day today.
Oh, that's gonna be-
We're doing the Tokwa Power Play electric go karts again, and this is a first sneak preview, and it's on Sunday the 5th of June between 3 and 6:30 p.m. And there are only 48 places, and it's costing $49. And for that, Pete, you get 2 races.
Yes, you do. You get 2 races, and you also get included in that is a camera that you mount on your helmet, so that after you finish the race, you hand over the camera and it gets uploaded onto a website and you can download your race. So they usually charge $5 for that. We've managed to negotiate a group discount, which means that you basically cost about $20 less, $21 less to be precise, than it would otherwise, which means that it pays for your annual Tokwa membership. right there in one event.
Wow, that's good.
Before
So-
road user charge.
That's right. There's going to be a road
Plus-
usage charge.
Plus 2.5 cents per kilometre driven to the
Yeah.
venue.
Plus, their cafeteria that's at that track is the same cafeteria at the BP, which they charge $9 for a chocolate bar and $13 for a sandwich.
No, actually, Jared, you're allowed to bring your own food and bring
Oh.
your own drinks as long as
Uber
it's
Eats.
not, alcoholics. So you can order.
Get pissed and
You know,
drive.
last year we ordered Pizza Hut, so you can order in pizza if you want.
It's great.
But if you're Alex, you leave the Corona at the door, mate, along with
Yeah.
all the other,
Alex?
the other conditions.
It's okay to wear masks, folks. It's quite okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Oh,
that
and
sounds great.
by the way, do bring your, if you were there last year, bring your balaclava if you can still find it. Or I think balaclavas are
$4.
$4.
$4 for Belgium.
Can we just bring our helmet and be done with
Maybe
it?
we can get Jurgen
Oh,
there.
yeah, bring your own helmet as long as it's certified. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we could
Yeah.
sponsor Jurgen there. He can drive with us and give us some pointers. You know, being a
Well, we can
professional
certainly
driver.
invite Jurgen if he's available.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
He
Absolutely.
came last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you overtook
But he was given strict instructions last year by
To
Helen.
lose.
He was,
Yeah.
he was told that if he comes home and if he won, he's not welcome to come through the front door. So he wasn't welcome back home if he won. So
He was actually quite handy. He overtook me and then I followed him and got better.
There you go.
There you go. So that's on the 5th of June. And like I said, the email will be going out tomorrow. But I mean, look, there's plenty of time to book. And there are 48 participants in total. I think that's the limit from memory.
yeah.
So
we sold out last year the 48, and we've got
yes,
quite a few more members this year. So as soon as that email comes out, I'd recommend booking.
the link is actually for everyone watching live. The link is in the chat. So you could actually go for it immediately. There's no problem. The whole thing's been fixed up. It's working. But I just haven't sent the email out because I don't want to overwhelm people with separate emails. Otherwise, it gets all lost in the blur. But thanks for organising that, Pete. It's great fun. It really is.
Good work, Pete.
Wait.
All right. So we've got. Let me just check any other bits of news. Oh yes. Okay. So the unheralded Canadian FSD
Charge.
price rise. I think I've got. Oh yes, this is a tweet reply from Elon Musk on the 23rd of October, when he was basically saying I think it was the 22nd was roughly a Thursday, I think it was, and Elon had said there's going to be a price rise the coming Monday, and then Ryan McCaffrey had a bit of a complaint about it, and he basically conceded that he would do it a week, like he pushed it to the Thursday the next week, and then he said only applies to US for now. 1 week clock will start in other countries as beta is released. Now, up until today, our Ask Us Anything recommendation was don't worry too much about buying FSD anytime soon if you don't have a burning need or want to do it. You know, you'll always get some notice before the price goes up. I guess at the moment that may become a bit doubtful. Has anyone heard? I haven't heard whether
sounds like a
Tesla
disclaimer.
have walked. Well, no. Well, have Tesla walked back on the Canadian price rise? Have they said, "Oh, okay, we'll give you a week to do the old one"?
They did announce that the FSD beta was going to be released in Canada, and then it was released, and then they put the price up. So they didn't say the price will be going up, but I don't think it went up on the day it was released, did it?
No. So
No.
I guess the story now changes. If ever you hear that FSD beta is coming to Australia or is going to be coming to Australia, then that would be a very good time to reassess your position if you are wavering or just waiting. So I think it's just important to just put that out there that advice is now changing to just keep an eye out. If it looks like it's coming or it's about to come, then think about either taking the plunge or just waiting for it to be a monthly fee, a subscription, which will also come eventually to Australia.
Hey, Harold, before I forget, just to let you know, I've just tried that try booking link. Once you press on submit or what have you, you've got to put in your details, your name, phone number and email. Whether you put in that you're buying a ticket for one person, 2 or 3 people, it insists that you populate 5 people.
The idea with that was to collect the details from every participant. So you can have a booking of several people. So you as the person making the...
Yeah, that's fine. But if I only fill out the first one, let's say for myself, and I leave the other 4 free, it won't let me proceed. It says that you need to fill out the other fields.
Yes. So if you're committing to buy, say, 4 tickets, you need to put in the details of each of the 4 attendees.
But what
Mickey
I'm saying,
Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge.
Yeah. So what were you saying, Pete? Say that again.
so what I'm saying is, if you have 4 people coming,
Yes.
it's asking for 5 people, and if you only put in 4 people, it says you haven't filled out the 5th one, and it won't let you proceed further.
I just bought one for myself, and it went through, so I already got it.
Oh,
And
okay.
I didn't ask another one to go.
Perhaps,
So
Pete,
obviously
maybe
I'm
what it was
doing
referring to, maybe it was referring to you as the ticket orderer, and then it wants the attendees separately. So you just put your name in twice.
Gabrielle, is that a cardigan you're wearing?
Oh, I got COVID, so I am home forever.
Another
Back
COVID
here.
victim.
Yeah, going nuts.
Were you at the hippie club?
So Pete, I just put in 2. I just put a request for 2 tickets, and it just says ticket holder information for 1 and number 2.
Yeah, see, I'm putting, I don't know if it's just to do with the mobile platform. I'm trying to do it on an iPad, and I put in 1, and it comes up with 5, and I've got to populate 5, otherwise it won't let me go.
Okay, so I'm just doing it live.
I
That
was
says
just messing
1,
around with it.
and we go
I was
next.
just messing around with it. If you go backwards, if you use the back button, it gets confused. There you go.
Look, I just did the exact, thanks Shane, I just did the same thing. And what it's doing is it's adding it because it's got a cookie. So don't go backwards and forwards. If you just go cold, it'll be okay because it's actually adding more to the cart. So if I go back,
The cookie.
and then if I go another 2, it'll probably have a total of 5 next.
Oh,
Because
yeah, I've got a total of 9 now. So yeah.
Yes.
Start
stop,
again.
Oh,
so
can
stop
you guys,
playing with
can you
it.
guys share? Like, there's other people want to go to this. You
Ask
take a
them,
night, take
don't
one.
cookies.
Everyone's going to be
They're
2
big
tickets
sticks.
left.
So stop playing
It's
with
one
it.
of
Pete.
those things that if you've done anything with software and you see something like that, you go, yeah, we'll just try the, oh, look, gee.
The try booking email is we don't care at trybooking.com. Whatever.
I thought it was coughforcovid.com.au.
That's it. All right. So other bits of news, just checking my notes. That's notable. Oh yeah, Tesla's 2021 impact report. So I'm sure we've all
how good is that?
diligently read that.
Sorry,
and it's impressive. Yeah, go Pete. Paul, you've read more of it than I have.
Oh no, it's all right.
Can you give us a total? Can you give us a summary of it, please?
Only because it was
Buy more
only
shares.
1,000 words or less.
Not that this is financial advice, but buy more shares.
Oh, hang on a minute.
There you
The
go.
following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But take Paul's advice. Buy more Tesla shares. Although, what are they at the moment?
Oh, they've gone down, which is awesome. Sorry.
They,
If you're going to acquire, yes.
Yes.
They're
Acquire, Brock.
$7.90 at the moment, so they're on sale again.
Nice.
I'm going to wait till they get down to 700 again and buy some more.
I think
That's
it's
right,
the CPI or the PPI CPI report. I think that's coming out about an hour before market open, so that might
Yep.
swing around that could be.
Who knows? Stock market makes no sense.
Can I go back to that try booking for the power cart, Harold?
Yes. So
A few of the people have said tonight they've got COVID. How will try booking allow for cancellations if people have COVID and cannot make the event? What happens? What's cancellation policy?
money back. I don't
get
know it off the
COVID.
top of my head. I'm sorry, but I will find out.
Question on notice.
And in any case, it goes without saying that you'll get your money back. Yeah, that goes without saying. I just haven't tried to do that ever before. But regardless of how the process is, I think you might be able to just return the tickets and get a refund direct from Try Booking. And if not, you'll certainly get it directly from the club in any case. So yeah, it goes without saying. Having COVID is an extraordinary event, and it's not like you're going to forfeit your money. So we'll happily send out a refund of one sort or another, whichever method that is. I think Try Booking just does it automatically.
Because I've never tried it, so I was just wondering.
No, nor have I, to be honest. But yeah, we'd like people to actually do that. Even if you think of it as, you can't be bothered and leave it as a donation or something. The main thing is we want to be able to give other people the opportunity, because it will sell out, to give other people the opportunity to actually use those tickets.
Yep.
And have the experience. And obviously, we'll be abiding by any COVID regulations that are in place at the time, whatever that is.
Yep.
So,
Which, I
so
mean-
last year we had we had restrictions, so we wore masks as spectators, and when we went to race, we put on a balaclava inside the helmet, and the balaclava went over your mouth and nose. So that's the way we did it last year. But masks have gone now, so yeah, we'll see what happens closer to the time.
Well, they might have gone. They might be back.
True.
Yeah, rumours I'm hearing today is the mask will be back on next week. So, especially if we have high numbers again tomorrow, which apparently
17,000 today.
Yeah, 17,000.
Yeah.
Increase of 40% on yesterday.
Yeah. So,
Well, the Wednesday and the Thursday numbers seem to be the most accurate because people don't really want to get tested before the
right.
weekend.
no,
But if it's
not if you're going to the hippie club or you play for the Eagles. You don't want to get tested. If you play for the Eagles, you go to the hippie club. Unlike
Jared,
Alex, who went to the hippie club and he's come back with COVID.
That's right, Jared. You can't have COVID if you don't test for it.
That's right. Exactly. You're only as good as your last shake. And if you don't get tested, you're all good. Isn't that right, Alex?
That's right. You just end up with a tickly throat, and then you're gonna go, "Oh, do I have COVID?"
You got COVID.
So speaking of tickly throats, how'd the play go? How'd the show go?
It was awesome. It was really cool. Singing away.
Who was your
No
lighting
one-
guy? Who was the lighting guy?
It wasn't me. It was I have no clue.
You have
Someone.
no idea who the production staff were. That's very sad of you, Alex. You should know who your production staff are.
No, I think that the production staff would know Alex, but Alex doesn't have to
Oh, he should. Alex.
bother himself with the help.
Oh, he's not Ed Sheeran, you know?
No, he's better than Ed Sheeran. Come on.
That's right. He's playing Mandurah Performing Arts Centre.
Yeah, and I
That's
went
bigger
with
than Wembley Arena. Well, you know.
little inside scoop, everyone. Amy Shark is coming to Mandurah, and I spoke to
Hey,
the
a little scoop,
production
Alex.
manager.
Sorry, you did what?
I spoke to the production manager of Amy Shark's production co.
Yeah.
And looking there's some pretty awesome set coming to Mandurah. So
There you go.
there you go.
She's doing the whole rounds, mate. She's got 100 and something shows. So bad news is she's doing Albany, Bunbury, Mandurah,
Yeah. All the low.
yeah,
Arthur River.
yeah, Queensland. You know, she's doing everywhere. So it's not like an exclusive like U2 played in Ukraine this week. It wasn't like that. It's more like she's just doing a big run. So, but that's good. It's good for Mandurah. They're getting entertainment. That's good.
We just need more of it.
Oh, there's going to be a lot more as soon as this COVID stuff goes away properly.
For anyone new, one thing I should always try and remember to do is look up just Google Synergy EV tariff. And if you've got your EV registered in your name, then you'll be able to get basically a 30% discount on energy that your whole house uses between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. So just as a public service announcement, just
public service.
You just Google.
It's an air raid, a public service announcement.
You just Google Synergy EV tariff. That's the quickest way to do it, and it's the first hit, which then explains what the actual tariff is, and it's roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour overnight, and the standard L1 tariff during the daytime. The great thing is there's no sting in the tail. There's no higher tariff or penalty tariff. And it's also compatible with solar systems. So if you've got solar feed-in tariff, it's compatible with basically the standard solar. What are they called, Pete? The REBs, DEBs, something.
REBs. It's now DEBs. Went from REBs. Distributors.
Corruption,
So the only stickling thing is you've got to make sure your EV is registered in a natural person's name, and that same natural person is the account holder for the Synergy account. So
you can't be in prison, and
you probably can't be in prison.
Why
Actually,
not?
I don't even know. I don't think that's true, Jared. I think you actually can be in prison as long as you've got internet access. You can scan your rego paper for your car, and you can go to Google Synergy EV tariff and submit. What you do is you do an online submission of your rego papers, and I think your Synergy account bill
number,
and apply for it. And there's a small fee of, it's roughly $100 odd to get your meter either replaced or just reprogrammed.
And then you have to send in a copy of your rego papers every year to maintain it.
Aha.
No, that one.
Well, I've had it for a few years, and I had to send it in again to prove that I still got an EV. There
you go.
So have you got Reece Whitby's phone number now, Nigel? Like you hanging out together at the shopping centre and stuff? And
I do anyway.
Because I mean, he's going to be retired soon anyway. Because
he's not as old as me.
No, but he's.
It must be in their retiring age though. Anyway.
Yeah, he's getting older. No doubt. Yeah, exactly. He works for the government. He just.
But come on, politicians stay there till they're 80 or 90. Just look at Joe Biden.
Or Alana McTiernan.
That's different. Yeah,
I like that.
I remember Alana got done for her first, when she did her first drink driving. It was great. She had that runny eyeliner, and she got on and started crying on the media. It was great.
What's the benefit of signing the form to Synergy again? Sorry.
For the Synergy EV tariff.
Yeah.
So what the benefit is normally you would pay 29 cents per kilowatt hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? That's the standard home electricity charge. But on the Synergy EV tariff, between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., you pay an off-peak rate of 20.5 cents. Now, that's not just to charge your car, that's your entire house. So if it's a hot summer's night and you've got the air conditioner cranking overnight, between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., that air conditioner is also enjoying that reduced rate. So there's no separate meters. There's no sub meters just for your car charger, which some other jurisdictions have. Your entire house gets the discount overnight. But unlike, for instance, the so-called smart power tariff, that has a significant sting in the tail, whereby from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. you get charged over 50 cents per kilowatt hour, just when you need it most.
So fisting. I've got that one. I've got that one. And it can
So
be
the-
very painful. if you
So the
don't-
Synergy EV tariff basically is a no-brainer if you've got an EV. And I just note here on the FAQ, you can even do it if you're renting a place, a property.
Yeah.
So,
And also, Gabriel, someone like you who doesn't wear any shirts, it'll be good that you won't catch a cold because you can have the heater on. It's
Yes.
checked out. So you'll be
Well noted.
well noted. Thank you.
We
Yeah.
are in winter though.
While we're on
Now I'm
the
wearing
while we're on the subject of charging, I'd like to put in a plug for an app that I've been using of late that I've got absolutely zero association with, other than I've found it and I've been using it, called Charge HQ. It's in like beta testing stuff, and I personally think it's brilliant. You can set it up to use the home EV tariffy thing between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning to top up to whatever you reckon you're going to need the next day based on the day of the week. But if you happen to be plugged in and your solar panels are making energy, it'll charge to your car's limit, which in my case I set the limit to 100% because I can. So on the weekend I can be lying in bed sleeping, and the car recovering from Friday night, and the car will charge itself to 100% off my solar panels at effectively zero. And then during the week it'll charge it to 40 or 50%, enough to get me to work and back and then some, and at the 20 cents. And I don't even need to think about it. All I do is I pull up at home, I plug it in, and that's it.
It's a bit like a poor man's Zappy then, Shano.
Yeah, Harold, this is the one that I told you about a few weeks ago, where I said that it's basically exactly as you said, Anthony. It's basically got the ability to replace what a Zappy or a Solar Edge does, where it diverts.
I would actually argue it does a little bit more than a Zappy, because I can make it charge to 100% off solar. So if I'm lying in bed on a Saturday or a Sunday and I'm hungover and the sun's shining, the car will charge all the way to 100%. But if I just plug the car in on a Thursday night, it'll only charge to 40%, or on Friday night, I set it to not charge at all because I'm probably going to be hungover and sleeping in on Saturday.
So I take it then that you have to give the app your Tesla credentials so it can actually measure the state of charge.
Yes, you have to give it your Tesla credentials, and I've got a Fronius inverter. I've got to give it the login for that as well, and it tracks it fairly well. It's not super responsive, like when a cloud comes over, sort of thing.
It's not SNIP.
So it's not looking for. It's not looking for optimum. It's not looking for ultimate.
No.
Pure efficiency, but it gets the job done more than well enough.
It wouldn't track as well as a Zappy. I would think nowhere near it. But
Zappies are overrated.
Having used it for a few months and watch
$3,000 for the app.
Yeah, you can save a lot of money.
So how much? Say again, Pete. How much does it cost for the app?
Well, nothing at the moment. It's free because it's in beta trial. So,
but it definitely wouldn't track as well as Zappy. But having looked at my because as soon as I signed up for the EV home tariff, I could see my half-hour consumption from the grid, and after a month, 2 months or so of using this thing now, you can set a limit in the app, as in, if your solar panels are making 5 kilowatts, you can say to the app, no, I want my house to consume 200 kilowatts, or 200 watts, or 300 watts, or whatever it might be, as your sort of latent draw, or if you like. And it'll track as close as it can. And with it set at 200, my half-hour draw from the grid is pretty much zero.
Now,
And the
Shane,
car
you've
will be
got
charging 5
you've
kilowatts.
got Powerwalls as well.
I don't, but that's an
Oh,
yes.
sorry, okay,
No,
you
I
don't. Okay,
don't.
no, sorry, no, I thought I was mistaking you for someone else.
No,
Confusing
no,
you for someone else.
I have some batteries and stuff, but not Powerwalls.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was just wondering whether it's also compatible with Powerwall, but then that would have to go to, well, that would be the Tesla API again,
So
I presume.
that's Tesla, Harold.
I believe it is. I believe it is. There's a Facebook group that questions that are raised on, and one of them, or a bunch of them, are about Powerwalls, but that I haven't paid super attention.
So this is Tesla seeing that there's a storm tomorrow and buying power cheap after 9 o'clock at 15 kilowatts.
Yeah, right. Nice.
And
Nice. So
after
it's on
9 o'clock.
Stormwatch.
Yeah, it's Stormwatch.
Yeah, cool. And that's the frustrating thing is Zappies aren't cheap. And most of this can be done with simple magic of the internet, because most inverters have APIs that go to websites, and your car has a very advanced API that goes to Tesla's website, and you just need the two to talk, or a middleman or a server to work it all out and negotiate it and make it work.
Yeah, personally, I always thought that the fact that I could see what my solar panels were making or not making or whatever at any instant in time, I always felt that was the biggest load of hoo-ha and not worth a pinch of poop. But now that it talks to my car and it charges me car for free while I'm sleeping, I quite like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've played around with similar things, not APIs, but EVSE. And it's just something magical about plugging it in and forgetting about it, and just knowing it's only going to put in the surplus and nothing more, which is awesome.
Yeah, you really got to trust the Tesla gateway. The algorithms really get it right. I'm pretty surprised. Always spot on.
Actually, and that's something that Tesla actually mentions in their sustainability report, is the use of AutoBidder. And in fact, it was in news last week, I think it was, that I mentioned that Tesla had expanded the virtual power plant regime to basically, it's covering, I think it's southern New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia. And that's an awesome innovation where, you can basically support the grid and also make a fair bit of money out of it as well in doing so. And I think from memory, they said that they would only ever discharge your Powerwall, I think it was 5 times a year. So when they really, really needed to do it for an emergency, that's how many times they would do it. And yeah, it's just a great testament to Tesla's innovation that they're making this happen.
There you go. What do you think, Carmen?
Well, it all sounds good. I haven't got one of those. So
no. Harold's free next week. He'd come around and whack one in. No problems at all. Pick a day that you need to do it, it would be there.
Apart from supply.
Thanks, Jared.
That's okay.
For organising that. That's really good.
I just like to do my bit. That sort of help.
You're good at writing the checks, Jared, and I'm the one that's got to cash them. So welcome. You've been here for a while, Ant. Ant is the state EVA chair and secretary, actually. So he's a man of two minds, two seats at once. Welcome back to the show. So what do you think about the state government's EV policy or strategy?
A couple of things. I think the highlight for me is the additional charges across the Nullarbor in particular. I think it was a massive gap, and that John admirably filled with biofuels on an interim basis, biofuels and deltas, I believe, or is it ABB? Can't remember. But so that's great. And then they've redistributed charges. Yeah, like that map shows. And I think it's a great idea that they've removed a few from the Perth metropolitan area and distributed them across regional areas. That is really good.
Well,
The
and
one
the big achievement is Brookton and Hayden,
Hayden,
because that was
yeah.
never in the strategy, and that was a
Yeah.
wonderful achievement.
Yeah, I noticed they've left out Lake Grace, but they've chosen the northern route. And then the other one that they left out, curiously, to my mind, I think they could have got rid of the Kings Park charger, but the other one that they left out was Jerramungup, which is
Yes.
a Western Power depot. So I think somewhere between Albany and Ravensthorpe would have been fantastic, because now you've got that large gap and you can't go easily to the Fitzgerald River National Park, for example. But overall, I think it's a great move, and having the world's longest electric vehicle highway is great. Plus, the rebates are great. That's, I think, just to harmonize with the rest of Australia, I think we needed to have it, albeit the availability of cars means that, it's a rebate for non-existent vehicles. It might make the manufacturers sit up and go, okay, we'll supply a few more, but it's got a few people over the threshold. But that, to me, isn't the best part of the whole announcement. I think the Nullarbor gap fill is the best.
With respect to the rebate, can I dare say that I wonder if the rebates come a little bit late? Like,
Yes.
perhaps if the rebate was a couple of years earlier, then the massive step up in demand would have come sooner, and that would
Yes.
have been a good thing. But
I think so.
Sort of putting the rebate in now is it's a bit late, because the horse is already bolted, albeit late.
100%, Howard.
And
These days, it's just inflation. Now it's just inflation.
Yeah, I think you might see effects like particularly the non-Tesla EV manufacturers will pop the prices up by half of the rebate just to be silly. Tesla will probably not, because it would just push it out of contention with the rebate. But it actually doesn't really affect Tesla, because their demand is through the roof anyway, and they're actually going to shut down orders because they can't supply enough anyway. So I don't think it has any effect on Teslas, but it possibly will make more people order Teslas. And it's free money. 10,000 portions of $3,500 to be applied to an EV when it wasn't there in the first place. And if you don't apply for it, then your car is going to be more expensive by the amount that the manufacturers put it up because of the rebate. So it swings and roundabouts. As far as the road user charge is concerned, obviously we want the road user charge applied to all vehicles, and I think they should be applied to ICE before EVs. But look, it's in 5 years' time. A lot of things will change in 5 years' time. There might, another government, a supportive federal Labor government might help them make their mind up about stamp duty, for example. And when they harmonise the road user charge across the country, maybe things will change as well, because they're essentially stealing the federal tax. The fuel levy is not state based; it's federal based, and they're applying it to EVs in advance, or perhaps because the federal government snoozed on it, they're applying it in advance and actually taking money that doesn't really belong to them.
And I think it's a classic. I think they've sought an opportunity. They've seen an opportunity to sort of experiment, for lack of a better term, with the notion of a state-based road user charge, because federal governments can't resist providing road grants as tied grants, usually for political purposes or other purposes. And the states resent that. So they've probably seen EVs as a classic stalking horse or thin edge of the wedge to introduce a trial sort of system. And then they'll probably say, well, you know what, we don't need to rely on the feds. for this
Yeah.
money. But as we mentioned, I think you missed it, Ant, earlier in the news. But I mean, one possible scenario would be, well, I think a recommended scenario would be that the federal government reassess the actual fuel excise and rename it or repurpose it as effectively a carbon/pollution levy. And that would then bring a more level playing field between EVs.
It's essentially tax reform. It needs to be a tax reform as part of a greater package that takes action on climate change. And a Labour government would be a better option or more likely option to implement it.
Or the Greens.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the Greens won't get into government, but as balance of power, they might, and the independents might have them apply emission controls on cars, and that could be part of the whole package.
Yeah, it is part of their policy statement.
So Ant, since you're the WA chair of EVA, has EVA formulated a national policy regarding road user charges for EVs?
Yeah, and we put it up sometime, I think in the middle of last year. It's on our website. I'll post the URL in the chat. But it essentially is it's all about applying the REC to all cars equally, and ICE is first.
Yeah. So in other words, it's not, the EVA is not trying to defy gravity and say, well, you know, EVs ought not pay their way, but it ought to be done on an equitable basis, equal at a minimum with ICE cars. I mean, what about the petrol excises? Does EVA have a policy on that ought to be retained for effectively carbon tax purposes?
If I recall, it's part of the statement, but I don't think we took a position on that. But we feel that it should be replaced largely by a road user charge for all vehicles. So in that sense, we do have the position that the levy has to be removed, but only as part of a greater tax reform.
Yeah, cool. Now is that under the fact sheets? EV fact? No.
Goodness me, can't remember. I'll have a look just now and see if I can find it. Chris wrote it some time ago.
Yeah, cool. No worries. That's cool. We might get to that a little bit later. Oh, so I think Chuck's just.
Oh, well done.
Chuck he is the most legendary free producer that this show has, and thanks to Charles's endeavours, it's right here. So, Charles, since you put it up, do you want to give a great summary of what was said in this document?
Yeah,
I didn't actually read it. I just found the link.
Cool.
Too late. Didn't read TLDR. Yeah. And I must mention as well, Charles, of course, is part of the EVA. And
yes, absolutely. Yes,
he's a great warrior on social media. So when we have debates on social media with naysayers, Charles is a great rounder upper of us keyboard warriors who come to the defense of EVs. And I do think it makes a bit of difference as well, because there's a lot of misinformation that gets spread, and we come along and sanely defeat it.
Speaking of misinformation, there was a terrible case of that. I think it was last Thursday, when a gentleman by the name of Stuart, he was from the Car Parking Owners Association or something like that.
There's association of car parkers, all right?
Yes, and he was basically saying things like, well, I think it was in response to, I think it was the Labor Party who had a commitment to put car charges across the Nullarbor, the federal Labor Party, and he said, well, he thinks that doing that is akin to the Pink Bat scheme and other things, and there could be hidden dangers. And he said things like, well, traditional car parks are set up with sprinkler systems that are capable of extinguishing petrol car fires, but an EV fire takes 3 days to extinguish, and that they don't have the systems to do that. And he also then went on to say that EVs are substantially heavier than ordinary vehicles, so it would be a problem to deal with heavy EVs in multi-story car parks. So
there's so much misinformation there, and where does one start? But essentially, it's something like 6 times more likely for an ICE to go up in flames than it is for an EV to go up in flames.
Actually, that's not true, Ant. That is entirely incorrect. It's actually nearly 11 times less likely. Because Tesla actually released that in their sustainability report a few days ago, where they said that an EV has to drive, after 1 billion kilometers of driving, an average of 8 EVs would catch fire, whereas the same 1 billion kilometers of travel, 85 internal combustion engine cars catch fire.
Right.
So it's nearly 11 times less likely in an EV.
And yes, they go up in flames, but not 3 days. Goodness me.
I know it was ridiculous.
There's also it's interesting because organizations that fight fires, and I've chatted to a couple, have already taken an interest in how to put out an EV fire, but not only that, how to disable the electrics on the car to prevent them getting shocked when they attack the fire on it. So these numbskulls who speak out of turn with no idea really ought to I wish there was some sort of fact checking on social media that wasn't informal, that the minute you said something that was factually incorrect and could be proven as such, you just get removed from social media. But there you go.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I guess since you we're talking about the elephant in the room, of course, Elon Musk is still pressing on with his Twitter acquisition, which will be interesting to say the least.
Least said the better. My views on it, I'm not particularly fond of Elon right now, and
he doesn't like you either. He told me. He said that you drive a Kona, and he said that you're an absolute,
Yeah.
I said,
so I can imagine my car will stop working from tomorrow.
Correct. Tomorrow,
actually,
next
don't
half
forget,
an hour,
Jared,
I'll be done.
No, but Jared, Ant likes to. Ant's in the uncomfortable position of being on both sides of the fence because he drives a Kona and a Tesla.
And his wife reckons it's a great car.
She lets me drive it occasionally when I'm a good boy.
Isn't there a Leaf in there too, Ant?
That's correct. Yes.
Yes.
And
We don't talk about the stolen car.
I guess I haven't sold my Leaf yet, so I suppose technically I drive both as well.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
In other news, anyone want to buy a Leaf with 59% of the battery left?
So how far does that get you? 14K?
That sounds like 3/5 to 5/8 to me.
Yeah. It's not much. It's about 70 kilometers. Yeah, it's not much.
We're hoping that there's a company in New Zealand called EVs Enhanced, which is actually making a thermally managed battery, because Nissan can't be asked to do it, a thermally managed battery for the Nissan Leaf. I think the options were 40 kilowatt hour and 60 kilowatt hour, but thermally managed, and they will sell the battery for roughly a third of the price of the car, and I assume they mean the 40 kilowatt hour car, which will mean that my Leaf will become useful again for around $20,000.
You probably trade that in on a DeWalt drill. You probably get a little bit more mileage of the drill though, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So 20,000. Excuse my ignorance, but what was the price of the car when it was new?
So they were around 57, I think, new, and then they came down to actually around 40,000. But I mean, we're talking in 2012 and 2014 kind of numbers. That was the 24 kilowatt hour Leaf, and now you get 40 kilowatt hours, still not thermally managed, and 62 2 kilowatt hour, also still not thermally managed, which is just appalling. They've dropped the ball on that one.
It's not just appalling. It should be illegal because
Yeah.
they have so profoundly screwed their loyal customers.
Yeah.
Why the ACCC isn't all over them like a rash is just beyond me. That it's such a clear cut case of that product was not fit for purpose by definition.
And they've also compounded the problem by making the original warranty was 5 years on the battery, and most of the batteries were about 5.5 years before they went below the threshold of 70%. And as you know, Tesla will carry on and perhaps drop 8% after the same amount of time as that. So, or even less.
8 years.
Even the Kona, I just saw a recent post where a Kona was at 92% after having driven 350,000 Ks. So it's thermal management. Tesla started it, and anybody any manufacturer of any worth their salt has followed in their footsteps, because thermal management is the only way to go, and Tesla proved it.
Exactly. Hey, I might just have a little pause just as an opportunity for anyone new or haven't been here for a while. If you've got any questions whatsoever, now don't think of them as any dumb questions. We were all inexperienced EV owners when
that's
we first got
bullshit.
our cars.
No, I disagree with that, Harold.
So anyone that's got
Two reversing lights on the back of the new.
Yeah, but that's for very special people like yourself, Jared. So that's okay. It's all right to not
You're
realise
special,
that.
Jared.
I had help from the guys at Tesla. They were really good.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers, and Jared's full of them.
Oh, no.
and that's because Jared is a wonderful. So
I'm a follow spot now. It's good to know I'm a follow spot.
Follow spot. So if anyone's got any questions, please do pipe up. Just don't feel shy. Just jump up and yell out and say, "Hey, I've got a question." Or if you want to do it quietly, you can do it in chat, and I'll get Nigel to read it for me.
Hey, it's Mike here.
G'day, Mike. How you going?
Good. How are you? I haven't been looking at this for quite a while. We're going away for 7 weeks over to Europe in the next couple of months, and the Tesla will be left at home. No one will be driving it. What should I do?
Which one have you got? Which Model 3 have you got?
Model 3 2021.
Is it a standard range? So it's a straight Model 3?
Yeah, it's a standard range with the Chinese battery.
Leave it plugged in.
So do we say
put the TV on and put a
do we
blanket
say
over it.
100%, Nigel? Because
No,
Elon Musk, or
I
say
would-
90.
I would say anything between 50 and 90%.
Yeah.
Just leave it plugged in at that state of charge. I don't know about leaving it 100% the whole time. I know LFP batteries like to be booted up to 100% frequently, but I'd leave it about 90%. I mean, I'm going away and very soon, and I'm going to leave my car plugged in at whatever state of charge it is or thereabouts, which will be about 60-70%. But I've got the NCA batteries.
Do you think it might be wise to switch on the Sentry mode? Normally I'd have it switched off at home, but if one was going away, you might want to leave it on, unless it's in a garage and unlikely to be, one of those suburbs that doesn't experience.
Mine's in a garage,
So Ant, one issue there is for security purposes, if that might have been an issue, that would be useful, but it's actually regrettably fairly expensive on energy. You can consume about 6.5 kilowatt hours per day. Basically because the full self-driving computer doing the Sentry, well, operating the cameras, consumes about 250 watts continually. And in 24 hours, it does add up. So,
it's a lot.
That's a fair bit. I dare say that's a fair bit of energy. If your car is in a locked garage, which is already secure, it might be a bit of overkill.
And rely on home cameras. Yeah.
Would
So
any
go
of
on,
the
Nigel.
Ryzen chips use more power than the old Acorn chips?
That's plausible. That's that.
It
Oh,
might.
well, no, sorry, but Nigel, it's
The Atom chips.
the main consumption isn't. That's for the media control unit. That's your touchscreen.
Mm.
But the full self-drive computer is a separate system. So your
glove box.
touchscreen is inactive. It's only the FSD computer and the
Yeah,
cameras
so
that
that
are
would be okay then.
active. Yeah, so it'd probably be okay. But it's still 6.5 kilowatt hours per day is not trivial. So Mike, so if your car's in a secure garage, just leave. Well, you've probably excluded home anyway for Sentry mode, or if you haven't, that's something you could actually look at. And anyone else listening in, if you've got a secure garage at home, obviously you have to have set your home as the home address, or your address as your home address, or as a favorite, and you can exclude home and favorites from Sentry mode, which means it won't record footage continually in those locations.
Okay, so
another form of security.
Go, Mike. So hang on, Jared. Go, Mike.
okay, so I have a ABB charger, not a Tesla charger, which I'm pretty happy with. But instead of that coming on every day, I would put it on 5 days, every 5th day to come on, would I?
No. So leave your ABB. So does your charger have like its own scheduling timer or something like that?
I'm not sure. I think I'd use the Tesla, the one on the screen, the Tesla one.
Yeah, okay. So all you do is just plug it in. Just plug your car in into your charger, and if your car is below the state of charge that you've selected, so actually in your case, generally because you've got the standard Model 3, which has got the lithium iron phosphate battery, Tesla recommends you charge that to 100% all day, every day, or for continuous use. But if you're going on a long trip, you can reduce your slider down to 90%. So simply plug your car into your charger and leave it and forget it, because there'll be a little bit of what's called phantom drain, a little bit of consumption for normal purposes. Once it dribbles down to a few percent below that threshold that you've set, it'll just start charging for 10, 15 minutes, top back up to where it wants to be, and then turn off. And then 1 or 2 days later, it'll just rinse and repeat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
what
leave it
about
on
mine?
permanently.
Yeah. So go, Carmen.
Is it the same for mine, Harold?
No. So yours is a
California.
Californian standard range car. So on your charge screen, you'll see the words daily and trip. So what you should do, Carmen, is set your charge level, actually the same as Mike's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In this
No,
case,
I've got
90%.
it to 90. Yeah,
So 90.
No, but
but
to
you
leave
could,
it.
but you can just leave it. You could just leave it at 90%. Look, perhaps dial it down if you're on a long trip to maybe say 70%. Say, for your battery chemistry, and just set it to 70. Even if your car is at 80%, just set the slider to 70 and plug it in. And then in a week's time, it might eventually dribble down to 70% or 68%, and then it will just top back up again. And it'll just keep doing it every few days.
Yeah, you've got the same battery technology as I have, Carmen. I'm going away for 4 weeks or whatever.
Well, I might have to leave it with you.
Ah, yeah. Well, you're not going away till July, are you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So I'll leave it plugged in, and I'll just give you a garaging fee of $25 a day or whatever.
Bargain.
Okay.
You just drive the cobwebs off the tires, Nigel, every now and then.
Yes.
You'll meet up with Damo and take it to Kwinana Drags and see what the standard range can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be good.
Okay, another stupid question, probably
Mike.
stupid.
Oh no, Mike, there's no stupid questions here.
Yeah, this one might be. I've got a neighbour that wants to borrow the Tesla while I'm away. So if I fix up insurance on that, is it worthwhile taking it out once a week or anything like that?
No.
No.
Not worth it.
The short answer is no. It's not like
Well,
you
yeah,
have to
no, it
worry
is
about.
because his neighbour's going to go and buy a Tesla.
Oh yes, that's right. But
Or place
it's
an
not
order.
like it's not like you need to have an engine turned over so that the oil doesn't dry out and it starts rusting and all that stuff. That's just not an issue. But what you can do, Mike, is you can. Oh, I guess look, the simplest thing is if you want to allow your neighbour to take your car for a drive every now and then, just give him one of your key cards. That's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
Harold, can you pause recording just for a sec?
Yes, 2 seconds.
Say something that's
and welcome back. And Ant, you were saying?
I was saying about FSD and the fact that that Tesla won't take that as on a trade-in, which is sort of understandable. But I've lost my train of thought.
No. So your train of thought is that what's completely ridiculously unfair and manifestly wrong is the fact that, let's say you buy a car and the day you drive it out the driveway and you've got full self-driving fitted for $10,100,
That's what I wanted to
and
talk
your
about.
car is T-boned.
someone speak to him about that.
Now,
Chat about that.
so someone that couldn't agree more, and thank you to, I forget who it was that actually gave me the link, but thank you anyway.
Charles.
It
Chuck.
it wasn't Charles, it was Alex actually, because Alex is on the ball. He's almost ahead of the curve. He's just meeting the curve. Actually,
Alex is still on the curve. He's still
actually
he's
Alex.
still
We were trying
symptomatic.
to flatten Alex's curve, but he seems to have gone exponential. But anyway,
Alex is still with us. We got some sort of
yes,
beep?
he is. He's wheezing in the background. So this is the Channel 10 news report. Actually, Pete, do you want to introduce it, or do you want to do the post, the autopsy at the end of it? Would you like to
do the end? I'll do it at the end.
do it at the end? Okay, so here it is.
Electric car owners will be forced to pay for every kilometre they drive on WA roads. The tax is actually part of a plan to get more people into electric vehicles, which includes subsidies for new cars.
10,000 grants up for grabs, enticing drivers to switch from fuel to renewables.
Getting from A to B should not mean polluting the planet.
2 days out from the state budget, the government has committed millions of dollars to accelerate the uptake of EVs.
If you buy an electric vehicle under the value of $70,000, you will get a $3,500 rebate. There'll be 10,000 of those available and it'll commence today.
It comes ahead of another spike in petrol prices, likely to hit $2 a litre next week. While EV drivers would save on fuel money, they'll still have to pay to use the road on top of the annual vehicle registration.
Unfortunately, we have to fund the roads, we have to put money into maintenance, and we have to have a funding source for that.
A road tax of 2.5 cents per kilometre will be introduced in 2027.
I just think it's the wrong message to send to such a young industry. We're probably one of the few countries in the world where we're talking about taxing EVs. Everywhere else, it's all about incentives and subsidies.
An electric vehicle would still be a lot cheaper to run. With fuel at $2 a litre, the average passenger car would be around $3,300 a year, compared to $300 for the EV road tax. The government's also set aside almost $23 million for extra charging stations to create an electric vehicle highway spanning more than 5,000 kilometres.
So this is more than 10 times longer than any other electric highway anywhere in the world.
Lee Steele for 10 News First.
Good work, Lee. A nice haircut
BS. Can I just call BS on Bill Johnston's 10 times?
Yeah, I was about to
10
say that.
Yeah, 'cause
America's got a long one.
That guy's a tripper as well. He listens to ABC.
So Pete, feel free to
Yeah.
comment.
Can I get your autograph, though, Pete?
Yes.
Pete's fan base is just lifting up and up and up. He's
not
turned
a-
into one of the media whores. When they want someone that is ring Pete now, he's definitely the Tesla whore.
Alex, I think Pete's gunning for your job, mate. I think he's going to be driving down to the Mandurah Performing Arts Centre, and he'll be having a job, mate.
He doesn't have the looks, though.
He'll be mobbed by the groupies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I
go,
mean, if
Pete.
you saw Billy Grills out there, you'd think that for sure. You know?
So go, Pete.
Yeah, so it all started, they called me down to make a few comments. It was roughly about a 10-minute interview. 90% of what I said was positive, and I did say, look, overall it's a positive policy, but they've obviously cut out the 2 negative bits. And Alex, you must have got like a Facebook or a social media version. The version that was on TV and the version that's on 10Play, it's got, so above Narolda Jacobs, there's a big plaque that says Tesla tax. So they called it the Tesla tax. And, you know, it's just unfortunate. Obviously, the reason why Mark McGowan wanted to announce this 2 days before the budget was to give it, you know, extra airtime. So he's obviously thought it'd be a good policy to announce. But why, you know, mix up your messaging? I know that the reason why they're doing it is because they're trying to steal tax revenue from the feds, you know, preemptively, you know, in 5 years' time. But so I understand that, but why not announce that separately? You know, why do it at the same time? Because, you know, the media is only going to focus on the negative part of it because, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. You know, they love the controversy. So, and that's the way it was obviously portrayed. But
I think the reason they bracketed it was to kind of justify it to the rest of the population, the ICE driving population, and it's kind of, you know, look at us, we're doing a balanced thing. We're giving, but we're also taking away, even if, you know, it was 5 years' time. I think they've all done it like that. The Victorian government did it like that. South Australian government did it like that.
And I think that the point there is, Ant, that you've got multiple audiences. You've got the people that hate EVs.
Yeah.
So at least they've got
anti-EVs.
So they've got something to be happy about because EVs are going to get taxed.
Oh yeah, getting
basically.
taxed
Right.
now.
It's good to get them taxed.
So really, you've got to talk to multiple recipients
Yeah,
and audiences.
it's politics.
Yep,
That's
that's right.
politics.
But if that's the aim, why not announce it tomorrow together with the rest of the budget? Then it'll be
No,
you know,
get soaked up too quick.
well, yeah. So if you're announcing it 2 days earlier, you obviously want it to get airtime.
It's good.
Yeah.
Drip feeding. Drip feeding.
No. Well, I think look. There's no doubt that the $2.9 million to put charges across a Nullarbor is just
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
brilliant.
It's
I mean that. Oh look, you know, can you
Charges
imagine
to
us?
use the roads. It's just
Just imagine us going. Well, the great thing is, you know, when Ant, do you know the first gentleman that took an EV around Australia? That was in a
George, yeah.
that
Glenn
was a
George.
Leaf, wasn't it?
Glenn
A Leaf,
George.
or was it a
No,
modified?
Glenn George took a modified MG around Australia, but Jeff the Walker Johnson took a Leaf
Yes.
also around Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was arduous, and not to blow my own trumpet, I took a car around, not a while ago, and I was only the sixth person, as ridiculous as that sounds, to have done it, and since then to now, there's been less than 20. But won't it be wonderful when there are fast chargers everywhere?
Yeah.
That there'll be no such. People will laugh. The first people to fly in aeroplanes were known and revered, and that was a special thing. And now it's just like, well, it's
I
meaningless.
always feel like I've
It was the
missed out
Wright
on the
brothers, wasn't it?
opportunity to blow the circuit breakers at some remote roadhouse, and when I finally get to not mentioning anybody in particular, spoil the clientele's, the roadhouse clientele's dinner by blowing the circuit breakers and charging my Model X. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that twice.
I'm going to miss out on that opportunity by driving around Australia on fast chargers.
Yeah, so the wonderful thing is we're going in 2 years' time, the entire EV world in Australia or Western Australia will be literally transformed.
Yeah,
literally.
Believe it when I see it.
It will be. And
happen, Richard.
Pete Petrosky will be the president.
Sorry
will be
to be the
Premier of Western
naysayer,
Australia.
but saying that we're going to get more chargers when
Chargers
no chargers
everywhere.
currently exist, it's like, oh, okay, sure. Let's do all the way.
No, Richard, I assure you that
I know.
I
believe you.
By March 2024, it will be all done.
Yep.
Okay, March
Including those 4 across the Nullarbor.
Yep.
Yes.
So
Oh,
electric
yes.
trains.
Oh, have no
Also electric
doubt.
Trains that charge themselves.
Yeah.
Be done too.
Have no doubt, Nigel, that those 4 across the Nullarbor will be done at exactly the same time as all of the others, because Horizon Energy.
When might the start of the rollout be?
Can we take put
can't-
money on it?
I saw a little bit of
say.
cynicism
That's all right.
with Richard tonight. I feel that Richard's been a little bit.
No.
We've got the family with us here, so I haven't been able to talk much.
He's still.
He's got the COVID. He's got the negatives.
He's got the negatives.
The project will be done, but in less than 2 years' time, completed.
Harold,
Absolutely.
Gabrielle's got his hand up.
Oh, Gabrielle, go shoot.
No, he was looking for a shirt. Get Tanner. He's trying to
All
find a
right.
shirt. Found one there.
Before I say anything, a fun fact about who invented the airplane. So if you ask to any Brazilian, they say that who invented was Alberto Santos Dumont. So that's what we taught in our schools in Brazil. So
it was the Wright brothers.
No, that was the fixed wing.
The Wright brothers.
South African invented stuff.
I know it was the Wright brothers because when I went to Geraldton 3 weeks ago, I had one of the original hostesses looking after me on that plane, and she had more cracks in the plane. I'll tell you right now.
Fun fact is, in Brazil we are 213 million people in there, and all of the 213 million Brazilians, they are 100% sure, and they bet their life that who invented was Alberto Santos Dumont, which is a Brazilian guy. So that's fun. I don't know who actually invented it because my life is a lie. Anyway, that's just fun fact about this. I got a question for you, Howard, and maybe, I don't know, anyone else. I went to Geraldton on 2 weeks ago, and I topped it up there, and it's 440 kilometers from where I was. The charger that you guys put in there, which by the way is very nice. Thank you. I enjoyed. The locker was opened. The locker was opened, and then when I finished, I locked it up again.
Yeah,
but then,
fantastic.
I was on my way back home, so I live south of the river, just nearby your house. Yeah, that's the one. And I was in 2 minds whether 440 kilometers would do with 100% of my battery, and I don't know, I was afraid, so I stopped in Huron Bay, I think it's called, in the hotel there. So I top it up, but I'd like to know if any of you guys have done it with a Model 3 Performance from Geraldton straight, like 440 kilometers.
We actually know someone that has done that. We had a drive to Kalbarri, the club did, and I forget the gentleman's name now, but he's got a Performance Model 3, and he basically went all the way from Perth to Geraldton. No. The other gentleman, he's got a business in Osborne Park.
Tiago.
He also came to Coolin as well, Pete. Anyway, apologies if you're watching. But yeah, basically he made it the whole way, Gabrielle. So you can do it. Now, what you could have done is if you left Geraldton at a high state of charge, you could have just navigated to home, and the car will predict, it'll show what it thinks the battery's going to be by the time it gets home. Now, say if it says you'll have...
Yes, I did it.
And what did it say? Did it say 15%, 20% left, or 5%?
It was so fun. So as soon as I put in there, it says you're gonna get there with 3% battery left.
Okay.
And then I thought, but that was as soon as I left. And then I thought, maybe it's a bit risky, but yeah, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Because I know there's a gas station on the way.
Yep. So what I recommend you do, what you should do is, you know that there's a charging station at Jurien Bay that's about halfway. So what you can do is just drive towards home, and just before you get to Jurien Bay, have a look at the prediction that the car has made. And if it's gotten a little bit better, then you'll know that you'll be okay. If it's showing a little bit worse, then just go and charge at Jurien Bay.
That's exactly what I did.
And there are
100%.
tricks.
So it worked. It worked then.
There is a joke that a lot of us make that when you drive north between Perth and Geraldton, all of the blue metal chips are facing one way, like towards Geraldton, so it's an easy, smooth ride. And when you drive the other way, they're all facing towards you, so that it's a lot rougher. Because I don't know why it is. It's not just wind. It's some weird factor. When you drive from Perth to Geraldton, you get better range than from Geraldton back to Perth.
Is that
and
called
it's
a
not just
headwind?
wind. No, it's not just wind. It's some
because
other.
you're driving towards the
You're
light.
going north, downhill.
Yeah, that's right. You're going uphill. That's right.
Yeah,
Ed,
right.
Exactly.
Good point,
You're going
Shane.
uphill.
And you're heading into a much denser 5G zone. No,
Yeah, that's right.
The point
So
you're
then-
making, Harold, about watching the graph, that is super important and a very good thing for anybody. I do a lot of towing, and a few others know that I do some strange things with my EV that apparently they're not supposed to be able to do. Watching that graph and just slow down. It's all you need to do. Just slow down.
So what I
Don't
did,
do 100 k's an hour with your trailer on. Do 96 k's an hour with your trailer on. And guess what? You get a hell of a lot further, because
there is
the whole power consumption is V cubed. The energy consumption is V squared. Power consumption is V cubed. You just slow down. You get so much more back by just slowing down a tiny little bit. You'll get so much further. And I've rolled into Williams. I've rolled into Kojonup on 0%, then Williams on 0. So go the other way around. I rolled into Williams on 0, then Kojonup on 0, then Albany on 0, then Koji on 0, then Williams on 0, then home on 0. And you can do that because there is graphs and away you go.
Shane, there's one exception when that doesn't work, when someone who shall remain unnamed went to Kojonup with their trailer going to Walpole, and he was doing exactly what you said. So watching
and missed the turn off. And missed the turn off.
It was about 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
And missed the turn off.
Don't miss that turn off. That's silly.
Don't miss the turn off.
And he was accelerating on the cruise control downhill and slowing down uphill to get extra, trying to keep, to make sure the worm didn't go too much into regen or too much into usage.
Exactly. Yep. Watch the worm. Yep.
Who was the silly person?
So I was doing this, but because by 12 o'clock at night, the rest of the family was asleep, I turned off the navigation so that it didn't wake him up. And I got so engrossed in watching that worm that I missed the bloody turn off. And by the time I realized, and then I had to slide down the graph to see the navigation behind it. And then it said that I'll get to Walpole with minus 10% battery. So,
just to conclude, my story.
Hang on though. The thing is, did you still make it to Walpole because all you did was just slow down a bit?
Of course.
And therein lies my point, my entire point. Just slow down a little bit and you're there.
But just don't watch that worm so hard that you forget where you're going.
Good point.
So just to conclude my story, and then yes, I did exactly that. So I put in there home, and then it said 3%. I said, let's see how it goes. And I was on the autopilot, and then suddenly the car said, all right, now you cannot make it. So you're gonna get home with -5 or 7%. And I said, all right, that's not nice. And then it says, if you slow down to 100, you may make it. And then I thought, if I slow down to 100, the time I'm gonna waste to get there, taking a risk, I'd rather stop and top it up. And then I kept going. Then it gets even angrier and said, all right, now I have to slow down to 80 per hour. And then eventually I have to stop to top it up. And then I saw the conditions. So as I'm a cyclist, I pretty up to date with wind situation. And I saw the wind was changing. So when I started, it was like kind of tail on the sides, and then it was like kind of headwinds during the way. So it wouldn't help. And then it started to rain as well. So it was raining very, very strong. So the less speed of the thing there couldn't keep up with the cleaning thing. So I couldn't see anything. I'm glad that the autopilot could see, because I was so scared. And I closed my eyes and said, yeah, it's your hands. So you watch it. And then when I stopped in the gas station to top it up, is oil thing as well in that gas station. And it was late, I think 11 p.m. or so. And I got to work the other day. So I started in the office at 9 a.m. And I really have to get home. And when I get there, the employee, he wasn't having his best day. And then he said, oh, I'm sorry, but we are not going to charge it. And I said, oh, how come? Because I charged before on my way back and it was working fine like 2 days ago. And then he said, oh, because we're going to change stuff, and the stuff that's coming, they don't know how to operate. And I said, look, I really have to go home and I can teach them. I know how this thing works. Or if there's something special you can explain to me, I'm pretty sure I can understand that. And then I can explain to them when they get back to turn it off and everything. And then he said no. So it was a bad day for him. And I had to keep going to a hotel or something that also, Harold, I think you have been there as well.
Oh, Cervantes. You went to the Cervantes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Destination charge at Cervantes.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and bring it up.
Kind of low.
So Gabriel, have you learned that there's good-looking girls in Perth and you don't have to go to Geraldton? Is that what you've realised? Huh?
Oh, I got a girl now. She moved in. So yeah.
Why are you going to drive to Geraldton then?
So the
I
Cervantes
went there to please her.
So the Pinnacles Edge Resort is at Cervantes, and yep, Gabrielle was there on the 24th of April.
Yeah, that's correct. So that's the day. And then and then on the way back, it was getting angry, like, oh, you're gonna get there like, I don't know, 40%, and then you're gonna get there with 37%. And the more I drove, the worse the prediction range wasn't accurate at all. So I'm a software developer as well, Anthony, and I do machine learning. I've done masters in data science, and their machine learning are not very accurate because I was just respecting whatever they're saying afterwards. So if you keep 80, you're gonna make it, and then I put 80, and then it still complains. So
it can't.
You cannot trust it.
Thing is, you can't really make it see ahead at conditions that get worse, like rougher roads or rain in particular. So yeah, it's one of those things. But I must say, spare a thought for. I've done the same trip in 2 cars to Ravensthorpe, which is similar in the sense that you got your country roads and etc. I've done it in Tesla Model 3 and I've done it in the Kona, and trust me, taking the Tesla is a much better idea because you've got the worm to predict for you. I was doing the Kona, I was doing it in my head and I arrived with 3Ks on the guessometer, and guess what? When you get below a certain amount in the Kona, it says the guessometer doesn't exist. It's not going to. So you roll in on the sniff of an electron. And I think the Tesla worm is the closest you'll get to getting the range right. But yeah, it can't predict the conditions ahead, and it certainly can't predict an attendant at the petrol station who won't charge your.
No, that's absolutely. But what I meant is like key variables like raining. So the car knows it's raining. It's obvious.
Yeah, but Gabriel, it can't. It doesn't have the. They haven't programmed it to try and anticipate the. Look, rain. It's funny because people in petrol cars. Well, all of us had petrol cars within the last few years. We just ignore rain as that's just a trivial thing. But actually, you think about all these raindrops, and you're accelerating them from 0 k's an hour to 100 k's an hour.
Doesn't help.
Your tires are pumping all of this water off the road away. They're squeezing the road dry basically. So that takes a lot of energy.
And the windscreen wipers as well, and you're probably defogging your windshield as well, and
So Gabriel, so out of all that, so you had to charge up at Cervantes. What did you leave when you left Cervantes? What did your car say it would get to home with? 0 or
I put
10%?
No. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the number, but I put a little extra, like to be safe and do not have to slow down. And I don't know, I would say I would drive, 30% according to the prediction thing. And then I actually got home with like 20 or so. So it was very wrong.
Okay. Yeah, right.
But then I was angry in the end, so I did speed up a little bit, not too much. But yeah, and another thing funny is, I don't know how do you call English when you have like a lot of rain and then you have like a little swimming pool in the road, and then you kind of lose control.
Yep.
All right, aquaplaning. So that thing, pretty similar in Portuguese. The autopilot, it goes off in the aquaplaning because I got it like 3 times, and then the autopilot just goes like bum, bum, bum. It thought that I was like forcing the wheel. So it can be very dangerous. So keep in mind if you guys are not aware yet, or if you haven't faced the situation. So when it's heavy rain, double your attention. Use it. It's cool, but double your attention.
I had the same thing, Gabriel, when I went up to Geraldton a few weeks ago to just move the charger or take a frame underneath it and bolt it to the floor at Geraldton. And I'm pretty sure it aquaplaned a little bit, but I mean, it can be deceptive because it felt like the car was sliding sort of sideways gently, but it could be subjective as well. It might have just been the water just slowing down the car, but you just got to be careful. Just be steady.
I've always been the opinion with the rain, you get less friction and more mileage. Like a gravel road, you get fantastic economy on. But my experience going to Esperance recently, it really took it off it. Whereas I thought less friction, it would be good, but it didn't work that way for my car either. I lost mileage, didn't pick it up at all.
Yes. Yeah. But I think Shane's point of you just slow down. And actually the formula to work it out is the difference in speed. So if you drop 10%, that's like 0.9. And if you raise 0.9 to the power of 1.2, that's the gain in distance that you get. So it's proportional. I know, Shane, you mentioned the cube and the square of either power or friction or velocity, but it's actually, you raise it to the power of 1.2 and you'll get a deadly accurate reference point of your improvement or worsening of range depending on speed. It's just one of those weird formulas that comes out. But all right, so anyone's got any other questions or experiences? At this point.
Well, I think at this stage, you pay more for coffee to do electrons if you're doing a trip. Some of the charging points are quite good, but the coffee bill and the cake bill is more than the fuel.
Yes.
First world
Well,
problem.
That is a very first world problem, isn't it? One bit of good news is, well, it's not really good. It was the Ravensthorpe chuffed EVA campaign. Its upgrade in power is still proceeding.
Yes. The
albeit there was a little glitch, a little technical glitch in paperwork, but which we won't elaborate on. But it's still now back on track to proceed.
Yeah, give it another month, and we should have the full 50 kilowatt in short.
And won't that be awesome? Because that'll be basically 18 months before Synergy put one in, and
Was there an election in Ravensthorpe, was there?
Well, maybe a forced one. No, this was about ownership of the land and basically permission or filling in the forms necessary to get Western Power to put a dome in and to run trenching and conduit through to the switchboard to allow better cabling and higher power throughput to the charger.
Yeah, so at the moment the charger has been restricted to
20
kilowatts, 19 kilowatts.
It's supposedly 25 kilowatt, but I've seen people only get about 20. So
Peter Ship, you've actually used that charger. Do you recall what speed your car was reporting as being charged at? Was it 100 k's an hour, or a bit less?
See, I looked at it at the time. I can't remember. It was fairly low compared to Lake Grace, but
yes.
No, I can't recall.
No, that's totally cool. I think from memory, a 50 kilowatts, a fully powered tritium 50 kilowatt charger, depending on how flat your battery is, will charge a Model X at about 200 kilometers per hour, approximately. It'll do a Model 3 at about 300 k's an hour. And I think the Ravensthorpe charger is a little bit less than half that power or similar sort of thing. But it's better than the alternative, which was getting,
it's
in the case of Model 3, getting 80 k's an hour at best, or a Model X getting 70 k's an hour on AC.
The most recent Model 3 there, EV Rob, said he charged at 20 kilowatt and he went from 15 to 68% charge in 2 hours.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. That's look, that's like I said, it's much better than AC charging.
Yeah.
That's it there, EV Rob. So again,
130. Somebody else said 130 k's an hour range in a Model 3.
Right. Okay, and that's completely plausible. So 130 instead of a potential 300. So it's a little bit. Yeah, I'm guessing that I think the power is about 20 kilowatts approximately, if that. Yeah.
And all you need to do is get to Lake Grace, and then onto Williams, or get to Esperance, and so you only need just less than 2 hours.
That's right. Yeah, if we just filter out all the green pins, basically, yeah, you're right. Lake Grace, that's the most that makes the most sense.
While you got that open there, Harold, there was one earlier today. I was looking at this over towards Eucla Way, to the right. Yeah, over there, that one.
Yep.
That particular pin I thought was a 3-phase pin.
Yes.
When I clicked on
so
it.
well, okay. So unfortunately, PlugShare. Look, in my opinion, it shouldn't. These two pins, which are basically
should not be orange. Yeah.
No, there should be another color.
No,
they are DC.
25 kilowatt DC.
No, they're about 20 really, because they're being fed with 22 kilowatts.
Yeah.
from
But they're not
32 amp three
DC.
phase.
That one said
No,
it
they are.
was AC.
No,
No, they're
this one
both
is-
DC.
These are DC. So what, as part of John Edwards's project, and it was crowdfunded via UWA through a Chuffed campaign
Right.
with tax deductible donations. This Delta, I don't think I can zoom in. Oh yes, I can actually. Don't know how to drag it. No, that's not going to work. Anyway, this
Yeah, I'm
Delta.
glad I asked the
charger-
question now because I just learned something. That's nice to learn.
Yeah, so notice how it's literally plugged in to a 32 amp three phase outlet. So it's a 22 kilowatt
yeah.
outlet. It consumes about 10% in efficiency. So it's producing about 20 kilowatts. Now, incidentally, this is Jeff.
Jeff Wilson.
Yes, Jeff's Kona. Now, for Jeff in particular, this makes a huge difference because his Kona through this outlet, three phase outlet, can only draw 7.6 kilowatts because Konas have a single phase AC charger. Now, he's actually, rather than getting 7.6 kilowatts, he's now getting 20 kilowatts DC. Now, Model 3
can only do 11. So
yes, and a Model 3 can do 11 kilowatts. So you're getting almost double for a Model 3 or triple for a Kona. And that applies to the Majura Pass and Balladonia locations. Now, obviously at Kaiguna, you've got the rolled gold
Yeah, you got 50 kilowatts there.
biofill 50 kilowatt fast DC charger.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, you know. But yeah, sadly, well, not sadly, but frustratingly, these two pins are not like the others because these two pins are not the same. So and look, to be honest, so is this one in Alice Springs. This is also a
that's
similar,
20 or something as well. I saw that. Yeah.
it's so it can confuse people that these two pins currently look like they're fast DC, but they're just DC, faster but not fastest. But hey, if your options are 15 amp caravan plug or 20 kilowatts, what are you going to do? Exactly. Look, and the great thing is, it means that people don't need. Well, they do. Frustratingly, they do need adapters elsewhere because you've got to go across the other part of the Nullarbor. But these three locations don't require adapters or cables because
disappointingly on the other side of the border, and I don't know if I've brought up this before in this forum, but the SA government's only going to put in AC fast charging there, so that's going to be very disappointing for cars that don't have a fast AC onboard charger.
Yeah. Is there any scope at all? I think I sort of agree with you.
There has been a change in government in SA, so maybe
they have.
Persuade them.
Yeah, because I thought there were mixed messages. There was at first I thought that the phase 2 or 3 was going to be off into the never sort of, or later, like aspirational. But I thought it was going to be DC, and then you're right. I did see a document that seemed to say that it might be AC.
Yeah. Chuck might know more. I don't know if he's still around, but the other.
No, Chuck's ahead of us. He's unlike Pete. He's beyond being ahead of the curve, and it's already actually tomorrow for.
He's starting the next curve. He's so far ahead.
He's into Thursday and enjoying whatever that day brings.
But Harold, the other aspect of this is because the WA government's now announced DC fast chargers to the border, probably spurred on by John's efforts. I wonder if it won't be the trigger that SA needs to go, because they look silly now. They really look silly with their AC on the other side of the border. The fast track to the SA border, then like
that's right. I mean,
escalators.
Yeah, Western Australia's bringing a big fat 3-phase cable, or DC, and then you can't have South Australia bringing a little extension cord. It's just not going to look right. And the point is, it's only, it's $2.9 million for 4 charging spots, And basically, if I just put up 3-phase for a moment, we've got Eucla covered. So Eucla's going to have charging. We just need the Nullarbor Roadhouse. There's one. We need Penong. There's 2. Or Ceduna, or we could go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Ceduna.
So are those 200 apart?
Oh yeah, roughly. Yeah, not well. I think Nullarbor to Eucla is less than 200. Nullarbor to Penong is similar.
Yeah.
Penong to Puchera.
Puchera, yeah.
Is again similar, and then you've got to
Kimber.
Penong will be all windmills.
You got Kimber, and then you've got Port Augusta, and
yeah, just above that.
Port Augusta is getting DC, I believe, anyway.
Yeah.
So you've only got about 4. Sorry, there's 1, 2. Let's call it 4 locations between Port Augusta and Nullarbor Roadhouse, and that's $2.9 million. Because that's what Horizon Power are going to pay for the 4 charges at Baladonia, Kaiguna, Majura, and Eucla.
Yeah.
So
they'll look silly if they don't. They'll look very,
precisely.
very silly.
And that means the only thing left out is the Northern Territory.
Exactly.
So we got Kununurra, which is right on the border basically, and we just need one at Katherine, Fast East. Actually, Timber Creek would be nice.
Yes.
Been there, but Timber Creek would be nice. Katherine, obviously Darwin, because Darwin hasn't yet got a proper fast DC charger. It's only a small one. And then you've probably got
You need 3 ways or Tennant Creek.
Yeah. You've probably got Elliott. Let's
3
say
ways,
Tennant
because you're going to
Creek
turn off there.
Yeah, but it's only 15 k's or 10 k's, whatever it is, between those two, between Tennant Creek and 3 ways. And then you've got Barclay Homestead, and then you've got Camberwell. Camberwell is Queensland.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get Camberwell, I don't know if that's on their I think Camberwell might be on their plans for Queensland. You got I think Cloncurry is definitely on their plans, and Hughenden and Richmond, I think, or Julia Creek.
I think the pressure's going to come with WA now. It's going to start looking like it needs to be completed, and I think the momentum is growing, and also hopefully, as I said, we'll get a federal change of government that might well flick the switch the other way. But I can't see how they can't. How SA can get away with putting AC, 22 kilowatt AC, and you know, as you said, with most non-Teslas, you'll be up to 7 kilowatt max. So yeah, I can't see how they can get away with that at all.
Well, the announcement's out there. The announcement is 36 hours old.
Yeah.
I dare say, and look, frustratingly, $2.9 million is a rounding error for anything in government, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
They
really.
spend 30 million on a swimming pool. They do.
Well,
Some
car
of the latest
parks.
picks, I think it's above that on a swimming pool.
Well, I live near the Manning, near Canning Bridge, and Rita Safiotti quite gleefully opened the Manning Road South on-ramp to the freeway, and it's simply one on-ramp, and that cost a mere $30 million, and that was 50% more than was budgeted for the EV electric highway
They don't even
a year and a half ago.
An on-ramp, and they don't even blink about spending money on roads. So it's, you know, this is for the future. They need to do it.
And one interchange bridge costs north of $100 million. And imagine if we spent $100 million on fast DC charging. I mean,
yeah,
I think we'd be laughing like little kids, giggling like little kids, going, "Oh, where do we put all these chargers? We can't think. You know, we've run out of towns to put them in."
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here. We'd be out in the road.
Exactly.
We can still
Exactly.
Pipe up. I just thought I'd pipe up and say I'm not yet.
Yeah. So how is the future? How's Thursday? There's no global thermonuclear war or anything.
It's amazing. Everywhere's banned ICEs. Everyone's driving EVs now. It's fantastic. Just wait till you get here.
And there's no road use charge.
Chuck,
you're a
how are we
legend.
going to get SA to get with the program? I think
Yes.
we need to make an AVA.
I was just trying to find a tweet by, I think it was Chris Bowen. It was one of the Labor MPs anyway. I'm just going through his timeline now to try and find where.
Are you talking about the table of charges and towns and stuff?
Yeah. They had a map of basically the entire loop around the country plus the red centre.
So Chuck, I recall I didn't see the speech, but I've heard it reported that at Labor's campaign launch in Perth, that Anthony Albanese stated that he would fund fast DC charges across the Nullarbor. Now, I don't know, was that limited to Western Australia,
It was
or did
every
it also
100
include
No,
South Australia?
it was Australia wide, 150 kilometres apart.
Yeah, very wide. I just can't find the actual image now.
Yeah, that's cool. But I recall from one of our previous sessions that you had worked out that, as Anthony had said, as Ant had said, it's likely that the Nullarbor Roadhouse and the Border Village location would be AC charging and not DC. Is that that's
right?
your understanding, isn't it?
Yeah, from the South Australian plan, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to share the picture that I found here. Now this image, I'll just paste it into the chat.
Oh, great. Yeah, cool. I'll just I'll just bring that up. There we go.
Yeah, so this is Labor's promise. They win on next weekend, I guess it is. So the blue.
What do the colours mean, Chuck? What are the colours? Sorry.
I think the blue ones are NRMA's existing network, all the ones they've got inbuilt at least, and all the red ones are the ones that Labor's going to fund.
Wow.
So
Really?
I'm not really sure. I mean, a lot of those regions will already be covered by various state networks. So I'm not sure what they're building or by how much. Perhaps they just wanted to include ones that were already being covered by state governments. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Right. So okay. So this is the. So we'll just zoom out.
Yeah.
That's the Labor plan. And can you explain the Liberal? What's the Liberal Party's? This map?
I think they've only highlighted the ones which Arena has funded. So that would be the Metro ones.
Yes.
From Future Fuels, and probably include some of the Charge Fox and EV ones at a guess. But
To be fair,
that's something, I think it's just a very vague map of existing.
To be fair, that the regional ones haven't been announced yet. So the Future Fuel and vehicle, the strategy which AMO and all the rest are into is only the metropolitan ones have been currently announced, whereas there will be regional ones announced in future.
Yeah.
Do you know when, Ant, is that planned? Is that a scheduled thing? Like there's
I don't know. No, it's kind of, that's on Liberal time. Yeah.
Is that a government determined time frame? Or, sorry, is that been locked in place regardless of which party is in government in a couple of weeks? Right. Yes. So Arena has a commitment to specifically fund rural or remote location fast DC charging.
Yes, indeed.
Right. Cool.
So I think Labor's promise was to give additional funding to Arena, and then Arena would sort out the specifics, I guess.
Rightio. So I guess if we take WA as the thing, that's kind of saying that the ALP is promising to fund this rollout, which is basically going from the federal government to the state government. I mean, I guess of interest to us is South Australia, so that means they're going to augment South Australia's.
Bill Shorten drives a Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't move Victoria.
No, the Bill Shorten drives a Tesla.
Yeah,
Model
but it doesn't leave his state, does he?
Sorry?
So Jordan never leaves home.
Yeah, but he drives a Tesla. Well, he
I
doesn't.
know that. Right.
So getting back to the rollout. So interestingly, it seems that Darwin is conspicuously missing. But anyway, that's sort of interesting.
Yeah.
So for us wanting to drive around Australia, which many of us want to do, it looks like good news for the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
Because
that's the main one that was missing before.
In fact, I dare say that image there is probably inaccurate. See you, Jared. Take care, mate. I dare say that.
Night, Jared.
Night. See you on Saturday.
That's probably Camberwell, Chuck. I think. I think it's on the wrong
hard to
side
see
of the
the border,
line.
but I think
I'd say it's.
I can see a
on the
vague
wrong side.
vertical line there. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, that's great, and yeah. So obviously, with the Liberal Party promising, effectively announcing, well, re-announcing ARENA funding anyway.
Yeah.
So perhaps there's a bit of overlap there.
Yeah.
Oh, there would be.
I'll take this opportunity to say goodbye and see you next week.
No worries, Ant. Thanks for
Thanks for
coming.
the
I really
chat,
appreciate it. Enjoyed
See
it.
ya.
Take care.
Yeah, and I'll say good night too, folks. So
No worries,
ya.
Steve.
Yeah.
Probably next week.
That would
And I
be
definitely
me
need
as
to go to
well.
bed now too.
Oh yeah, Chuck. Yeah, thanks for hanging around. Really appreciate it. Love your work, and
Late one.
keep on tweeting out. I love the research and the depth you go into it, mate. Really appreciate it. It's great.
I'll see what I can find.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Yeah, take care, mate.
ya.
See you next time. See you. Alrighty. So we are going to have a. Someone's got noise in the background. Who is that? Oh, they've gone quiet. It's like when the teacher looks and they go, "Who's that kid sniggering?" And it's like, yeah, they suddenly be quiet.
That's good news. But is there any timing on the federal stuff?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, look, I must admit, when I heard that the ALP were committing to the Nullarbor, I thought, well, that's interesting, but I didn't know when. But it's gratifying that the state government has basically
Picked it up.
and they're going to do it. And the thing is, it makes absolute sense for this to happen in the same time frame, because Horizon Power have to procure, I can't remember how many, but at least 10 off-grid battery buffered solar storage with a diesel generator backup, standalone power supplies, and a fast DC charger and AC charger for that matter, for at least 10 locations. It would literally be the definition of insanity for them not to just add those 4 locations at the point of ordering, because you get a volume discount. You might, so I don't. It hasn't been announced as such, but there's no doubt that that'll be rolled out at the same time as the rest of the system. And again,
just
go-
for
go,
optics,
Pete.
just for optics as well, because if it's installed, let's say 6 months later, then it's obvious that this was initially left out, and then the mistake was fixed. Whereas if it's all done at the same time, there's less. Yeah.
And unfortunately, John Edwards has left us, metaphorically or literally, not metaphorically, whatever. Notwithstanding that, I do still think there should be a John Edwards Memorial Fund or memorial, whatever, in 30 years' time. The thing that John and I laughed about when we were at Kaiguna, and John was great because he was saying, we're actually making history. This is a momentous occasion, and it actually really was. It's pretty rare that you're privileged enough to participate in something that is truly new, and something in a few years' time will be completely trivial, which is kind of special. But he goes, and I said to John, wouldn't it be lovely to see this old diesel bio oil powered generator, fast DC charger, sitting derelict in the corner of the Kaiguna Roadhouse with a, you know, Tesla megacharger with Tesla semis coming in, you know, with freight and stuff, you know, 24/7. Wouldn't it be lovely for that to be an old relic? And we look at it and go, oh, that, you know, those are the good old days when we had to, you know, charge it for mere 50 kilowatts and turn it on manually. And the great thing is that's gonna happen, you know, in 2 years' time, where that charger can go somewhere else.
It'd be great to just take that for granted then, won't it? It'd be fabulous. But as you say, that'd be a fantastic monument. And especially if John's name's on it. I think that's brilliant.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's just say I think the community is going to work out a way of rightly, well, and bearing in mind that we as a club very, very wisely and sagely, he is our inaugural and only currently life member of this club, and he earned that honour because of the body of work that he's built up in forwarding the cause of EV drivers throughout Western Australia.
Well, his foresight as well as his work is amazing.
Exactly. And the thing that the one quote that I heard him make that always rings in my head is, he said, as an EV driver, he didn't want to feel like a second-class citizen.
Amazing.
You know, it's so true. And unfortunately, there's quite a few of us in the room that have felt like second-class citizens because we've had to sit by the side of our car. Pete, regrettably, has had to do it in modern times because of a single component failure, where you sit there for hours and you drive at night because you've run out of time, and you don't want to drive at night because there's kangaroos, but what else can you do? Or you have to stay somewhere where you don't want to stay because with the whole family and little kiddies that aren't built to understand that technology doesn't always work, and you can't just hit the reset button and it magically just gets fixed.
4.5 hours charging each way at Lake Grace over Easter with nothing open and rain. That sucked.
Yeah.
And that's on a 22 kilowatt charging car.
That's
Lake
right.
Grace is a lifesaver now. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, we've not used it. we had a kid.
It's just such a big difference. And isn't it wonderful that we're part of that, where we could, it's like, you know, everyone's got mobile phones, but all of us here were alive when mobile phones weren't a thing. They didn't, when you used to ring someone at their house and it was very normal for them not to answer because they just weren't home.
Yeah.
And you used to have to.
I can still remember all of my friends' phone numbers, their landline numbers.
I remember the phone number in my
And
house.
most of them only had 6 digits.
Oh no, we had 7.
Oh yeah, I had 6. I had 5.
My mates only had 6.
My parents' phone number was 85 12 42, and that was in Karratha. Yeah, those are the good old days.
Yeah. Mine was
361035.
Oh, sorry, say again, Pete. There.
B4881 was mine.
There you go. There you go.
93078240 was mine.
See, everyone knows.
All showing our age.
Yeah,
Well, you know, I had a Jag that I was using for doing wedding cars. That was a huge mistake, but anyway, as in buying a Jag. And I actually rang up Telstra and spoke to a nice lady that I said, oh, can I have a nice number and just have it permanently diverted to my analog mobile phone? And she goes, oh, because I said, I don't need a handset. I don't need a physical connection. I just need a number. And I said, oh, it'd be really good if you had a nice number. And she goes, oh, what about 3222221? I went, yeah, that's not too bad. Can I have that, please? And she goes, yep, no problemo. Of course, I added the 9 to it later. But it was an old telethon number, I believe. Yeah, 3222221.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, All right. So
Um,
before we
you,
oh, you go
what
on.
you were saying there, Harold. No, yeah, our trip where we went up to Broome and back via Carragini, it will be one of those. Oh, we remember when we did it. There were no charges, you know.
Oh, come on,
But it was
Granddad. How
on
could
that
how could
one.
it possibly have been that bad? There are Tesla semis at mega chargers everywhere.
Actually, on that one, Harold, you said something along the lines of something like 20 EVs have done the lap. Is that about right?
Yep. We think so. We
One,
met
one of my goals.
Go, Shane.
Yeah, one of my goals would be to do a lap with my kids before one, before my kids are too old, and two, before it's too easy. You know, make it worthwhile.
Look, Shane, do it. I won't say do it now because it's actually the wrong. Or depends on how much time you have. Look, I was crazy and did it in 19 days.
I might have about 4 weeks.
Oh, 4 weeks you can absolutely easy peasy, like super easy. Because 4 weeks is nearly
What's
twice.
the record? Is that the record, Harold?
I think it is. I don't want to brag, but
do you
no
reckon
one has
that
ever said they've done it in less. And
if you'd have borrowed our car that's got 22 kilowatt charging, do you reckon you'd have done it quicker? Because yours is 90
Model
kilowatt
S. Oh
hours.
yeah, because your car's
But ours
sleeker and it charges
It's
quicker.
85
Oh
kilowatt
yeah.
hours, but yeah, it's probably about the same, but it would charge quicker.
How many kilowatt hours is yours?
85.
Oh yeah, no, but you're more efficient than me. I'm a big fat X. So I would have done it at least a day early,
You're
quicker.
not wrong.
But I'll tell you what, in a Model Y, I don't know what
That's
the
only got
charging
11
rate is.
kilowatt
It'll
charging.
be 11 kilowatts, so it's a bit of yin and yang.
I reckon yours will be very hard to beat. Very hard to beat.
Have you got a Model
Oh,
Y,
no,
Richard?
19. No, Peter. 19 days is easy to beat, so I can beat that. I will beat that hands down in a Cybertruck.
Oh yes, Cybertruck you would.
Or
yeah, but that's a Cybertruck, Harold. I'm
or the
talking a standard range, bog standard, pearl white, poverty pearl white, SR.
Oh no, Shane, you could beat. Oh, hang on, you're a standard range, aren't you? See, Tennant Creek to Camberwell will be a bit of a struggle.
Yep.
But having said that,
is a bit rough.
No, actually,
the top bit is the rough part.
Yeah, my car when it was brand new at 90% had a range of 354 k's at 90%. I charged it at 100% at Tennant Creek, and I drove 471 k's to Camberwell without stopping.
That's got to be a record. Got to be.
At 60 k's an hour?
I did the first 50 k's at 60 k's an hour, the next 50 kilometres at 65 k's an hour, and then the next 371 k's at 70 k's an hour. And
that sounds exactly what I did with my first serious towing attempt.
There you go. So and I did more than 100 k's beyond what my car was capable of by slowing down, and I had 20 k's left over. By the way, I could have burnt it off by just speeding up, but I decided just to stay at the same rate and just
be sensible, boy.
Just be sensible. But yeah, in a Model Y, I could burn around Australia in at least and don't forget I went around the long way. So when I'll just use this this map as an easy reference. I went Norseman and then down to Esperance, and then Albany and then Perth. If I just went and I overnighted at Norseman. I overnighted at Norseman. So from Norseman, I then went to Albany in one day, and then from Albany to Perth. If I'd gone instead from Norseman to Kalgoorlie to Perth, that would have been one day off anyway. But I decided consciously to take a longer way.
Yeah.
Oh, you know why? Do you know why? Because I'm a freaking romantic, and I wanted to do the first supercharge since Clare in South Australia.
Clare,
So since from here
of course.
all
Yeah,
the
righto.
way, I wanted to get to the first supercharger because there was no bloody supercharger in Perth, of course. So the best way to get to Albany on that trip was Bunbury.
Bunbury, yeah.
Was to go via Albany. That's why I deliberately took a longer route so I could have this romantic notion of, and when I tweeted it out, I took a photo looking over my shoulder as I was driving away from the superchargers at Clare with a tear in my eye going, oh no, I'm going to have to slum it with AC all the way to Eton. So 18 days was easy peasy, and I reckon you could do it in 17 easy. And in a Cybertruck, you could probably do it in
yeah,
14.
but by the time a Cybertruck gets here, it's gonna be a walk in the park.
So
Like,
Shane,
seriously.
I reckon so the best time to do it is late spring or early autumn, because you get more daylight time. And you want the daylight time because you're going to be driving slower to get to your destination quicker. And you want
I don't mind
the extra-
driving at night, so
Yeah,
you can't
I
out there,
do.
you can't.
It's
too
hard,
many-
mate.
Yeah.
Too many skippies at Mount
Oh,
Isa.
I've done that. I've done the Nullarbor trip quite a number of times.
Yeah, but
not
sometimes
very.
it only takes the wrong time, and I remember I was down to 20 mile an hour from Majura Pass to Cocklebiddy, and I was going to go the rest of the way to Perth because I felt that good. I had to stop at Cocklebiddy because you just couldn't drive it. There's that many kangaroos that you couldn't drive.
The trick then is to slip in behind a semi and just sit behind the semi and just.
Believe it or
you
not,
get
there were
all
no
the stones-
semis that night. There were none.
You get all the stones, Shane. And if it
Yeah,
drives over a skip,
trust me, I've been there. It works, but
if you
yeah, okay.
drive over a skip, it's gonna flip it out the other
Oh,
side.
the skivvies are right. It's the wombat that you worry about because they'll. Harold's laughing. He's hit one.
No, I haven't hit one. I've seen one like, dead cockroach style with legs up in the air like a pumped up balloon. Like, remember when you were, I don't know if you did this, you get a balloon and you put paper mache on top of it and then you make it into a money bank, a piggy bank. And this wombat looked just like the piggy bank with its legs up in the air and blown up like anyway.
Yeah.
The last 2 years,
I once drove a Hyundai Sonata from Kingunya, as in the ghost town Kingunya, to Sojourner, the back way. that car come out the other end, not looking so good.
Yeah, but I drove an AU Falcon between Perth and Melbourne in 36 hours. Was that clever? That was at the turn of the century when I was half my age.
Yeah, that's about when the Sonata did much the same thing. 7,000 Ks in 7 days.
Yeah, well, this was 3,600 Ks or something in 36 hours. I almost averaged 100 Ks an hour, and I wasn't speeding. Never sped. I just didn't sleep because I couldn't, because I had too many Diet Cokes. But anyway, on that note, most of us do need some sleep, and I have promised Pete that I would let him get to sleep at a reasonable time, which is about now. So, Pete, as is tradition, how would you take out the show?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. On that note, good night, everyone. Take care, and we'd love to see you next week on Ask Us Anything.
Well done, Harold. Thanks, guys.
Night, Harold. Thanks very much.
Good night.
Good night, all.